Chapter 55-58. Kang Shinmu turned around. He didn't care about Su Feibai's divine dragon body at all. In order to maintain the power of the 33 Heavens divine plume, he attacked as fast as he could. Extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul. Endless devouring power gathered and swept towards the 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creature. Su Feibai's 5 extremes mysterious ice divine dragon body was forced away. The devouring power that whistled across the battlefield gave him a sense of extreme danger. Then, the devouring power descended and completely drowned the 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creature. Extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul. Kang Shinmu erupted once again. The demonic creature in front of him wasn't as strong as the violent demonic creature from before. Faced with Kang Shinmu's terrifying and fierce attack, it couldn't resist it. The demonic aura collapsed and the demonic body exploded. It was completely suppressed into waves of demonic aura that were all devoured by Kang Shinmu's devouring power. Finally, the 8th-tier transcendent god demonic creature was no longer a threat to everyone. However, when Kang Shinmu suppressed the 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creature in the end, Su Feibai turned back to defend and went to kill the 8th-tier transcendent god demonic creature with Pu Tianhua as fast as possible. I've already severely injured that demonic creature. I'll leave the rest to junior brother Kang Shinmu. This was what Su Feibai said when he left, which made Kang Shinmu scoff. This guy was too hypocritical. Su Feibai's previous battle with the demonic creature had only been to hold it back. He hadn't dealt much damage to it at all. As for the severe injuries that Su Feibai had mentioned, it was all nonsense. He had only been able to kill this demonic creature because of Kang Shinmu's strong suppression. After devouring the demonic aura of these 2 demonic creatures, his devouring power had become even more tyrannical. Moreover, he could still use the power of these 2 demonic creatures for a short period of time. After all, he had devoured all of their demonic aura and stored it in his devouring space. This was the demonic aura of a pinnacle transcendent god. Kang Shinmu's devouring power had been accumulated, and he could use it at a critical moment to directly kill a series of powerful monsters. Of course, if it was just a few scattered monsters like this, there was no need to use this power. The devouring power is so strong. Kang Shinmu could not help but think. Demonic god ancestor demonic knight sighed with emotion. That's only natural. After all, it's the power of the primal chaos heaven devouring dragon. However, this kid called Su Feibai was truly disgusting. Kang Shinmu, aren't you going to deal with this kid? They are all disciples of the 5 extreme dark ice holy land. Do you think I can kill him? Kang Shinmu felt helpless. Although he was very unhappy with Su Feibai, he really couldn't kill this guy. At this time, Su Feibai turned into a 5 extreme dark ice divine dragon and flew in front of Kang Shinmu. He laughed heartily. It seems that I have wronged junior apprentice brother Kang Shinmu. Junior apprentice brother Kang Shinmu could have blocked that level of demonic creature even if he was alone. However, to kill those 2 demonic creatures, junior apprentice brother alone is still not enough. Fighting together with junior apprentice brother this time is not bad. We can have more exchanges in the future. With that, he turned and left. He had only said those words to save face. In reality, he also knew that Kang Shinmu's battle prowess was above his. Although he could not understand why, it was obvious that this was the truth. Of course, on the surface, he took all the credit and put it on himself. He could not truly admit that Kang Shinmu was stronger than him. Otherwise, wouldn't he become a joke? At least in front of the many disciples of the 5 extreme dark ice holy land, he still had to save some face. Unfortunately, Kang Shinmu did not give him any face at all. When Su Feibai turned and was about to leave, Kang Shinmu said slowly, I don't really understand what you are talking about. I didn't need your help to kill those 2 demonic creatures. I didn't expect that as a 9th grade disciple of the 5 extreme dark ice holy land, your character would be so terrible. Not only did you not save them, but you also spouted nonsense. The moment these words were said, the atmosphere immediately froze. Pu Tianhua and the other disciples of the 5 Extreme Dark Ice Holy Land were originally welcoming Su Feibai's return and even praising his heroic performance. He had killed a peak berserk demonic creature, then a 9th-level transcendent god demonic creature, and finally an 8th-level transcendent god demonic creature. In the eyes of those people, no matter which demonic creature was killed, Su Feibai would be the main contributor. But now, Kang Shinmu suddenly said such words. This was directly belittling Su Feibai. How can you be so rude? The 7th-level transcendent god female disciple of the 5 Extreme Dark Ice Holy Land immediately shouted at Kang Shinmu, "Senior brother Feibai clearly saved you, but in the end, not only did you not appreciate it, but you are also so arrogant and despotic? The dignified disciple of Emperor Shi actually has such a low character?" The moment these words were said, the atmosphere immediately became tense. Su Feibai was a little embarrassed, but he did not feel that he had done anything wrong. Instead, he turned around and glared at Kang Shinmu. "Junior brother Kang Shinmu, aren't you going too far by saying that? We are all from the same holy land. Fighting side by side just now should have been a good opportunity for everyone to communicate. I didn't expect you to say such words because of jealousy. It is really disappointing." Su Feibai maintained his aloof demeanor and said calmly, "Forget it. After all, you are my junior brother. I can't be bothered to argue with you. Let's go." He turned around and wanted to leave. He had no choice. If there was a real conflict, he was sure that he was not Kang Shinmu's match. The other disciples of the 5 Extreme Dark Ice Holy Land could not see it, but he was very clear that Kang Shinmu's battle prowess was stronger than his. Therefore, he only wanted to quickly slip away. However, how could Kang Shinmu let him leave just like that? If he let him escape just like that, his name, Kang Shinmu, would probably stink in the 5 Extreme Dark Ice Holy Land in the future. Therefore, he definitely could not let Su Feibai have it easy. Want to save face? Kang Shinmu laughed coldly. Then he would make Su Feibai lose all face. He could imagine that if he did not retaliate today, Su Feibai would go back and distort the truth. If it only affected Kang Shinmu, he would not care. However, it was obvious that this matter would definitely be related to Emperor Shi and Senior Divine Dragon, saying that Emperor Shi's character was lacking. How could Kang Shinmu tolerate such a thing happening? "Shut up," Kang Shinmu finally said calmly. He could not be bothered to talk nonsense and went straight to the point. "Over there, another 4 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creatures have appeared. According to what you said, it shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with 2 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creatures alone, right? Each of us will block 2 demonic creatures and see who defeats them first. How about that?" Chapter 55-59. How could Su Feibai dare to bet with Kang Shinmu like this? It was already difficult for him to deal with 1 9th-tier supreme god demonic creature, let alone 2. That was not giving him a way out. Hence, he pretended to be calm and said, "We are not a match for 4 9th-tier supreme god demonic creatures. Junior brother Kang Shinmu, don't be impulsive. In my opinion, leaving this place together is the right thing to do. Otherwise, if we encounter danger, it will be too late for regrets." In his opinion, no matter how strong Kang Shinmu was, it was impossible for him to fight against 4 demonic creatures alone, right? As long as Su Feibai did not agree, Kang Shinmu would definitely not dare to fight against 4 demonic creatures alone. Hence, the situation would collapse on its own. The fact that he was not as good as Kang Shinmu would not be discovered. As for the conflict that broke out in the future, he could use the excuse that Kang Shinmu was Emperor Shi's disciple to say that Kang Shinmu had improved too quickly and that it was normal for him to not be a match for him. Anyway, now, he could not admit that he was not as good as Kang Shinmu. However, his estimation of Kang Shinmu's strength was also wrong. To Kang Shinmu, there was nothing he did not dare to fight against 4 9th-tier supreme god demonic creatures. Ha ha ha. Kang Shinmu immediately laughed. "Su Feibai, put away your hypocrisy. I didn't expect you to be so weak that you don't even dare to deal with 2 demonic creatures. What did you say just now? You said that I killed those 2 demonic creatures because of your help? What a joke. You don't even dare to deal with 2 demonic creatures, yet you dare to say that you helped me just now? What a joke. Then, he immediately transformed into a pitch-black devouring divine dragon and headed straight for the 4 9th-tier supreme god demonic creatures that were flying over from afar. This scene caused Su Feibai's expression to change. In his opinion, Kang Shinmu must be crazy. He was actually so bold to want to fight against 4 demonic creatures alone. This scene also caused the expressions of Pu Tianhua and the other disciples of the 5 Extremes mysterious Ice Holy Land to change. Is this guy crazy? Senior Fei Bai is a 9th grade disciple, so it's normal for this Kang Shinmu to be inferior to Senior Fei Bai. Why do you have to be so impulsive? He wants to prove that he is stronger than Senior Brother Fei Bai. Senior Brother Fei Bai, what should we do now? We don't have to care about him anymore, right? Let's take this opportunity to leave first. Otherwise, if those 4 demonic beasts are agitated and go crazy, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave. The expressions of the disciples of the 5 extreme profound ice holy land changed again and again. Yu Tiancheng, Feng Ligei, and Gu Yusheng were with Su Yi, watching the crowd coldly from the sidelines. To them, this group of people were just watching them die. Therefore, they were too lazy to walk with this group of people. On the contrary, they were more willing to be with Kang Shinmu. This wasn't just because Kang Shinmu was stronger. Even if Kang Shinmu's battle prowess was inferior to Su Feibai's, they wouldn't look down on Kang Shinmu. Instead, they would admire Kang Shinmu even more. Because if that was the case, even Kang Shinmu would dare to appear and save them, but Su Feibai was stronger, so he didn't dare to make a move? What a joke. We won't leave. Yu Tiancheng said indifferently. She believed that Kang Shinmu wouldn't speak without thinking. Since he had said that, he must be confident. Even if it were 4 9th grade transcendent god demonic beasts, Yu Tiancheng believed that Kang Shinmu could defeat them. She felt that Su Feibai was too disgusting right now. She was looking forward to Kang Shinmu teaching Su Feibai a lesson and making him lose all face. After hearing that they wouldn't leave, Su Feibai's expression turned even worse. He understood that if he didn't handle this matter well, his reputation would be ruined. Although the disciples of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land were still on his side, that was because they didn't know the truth. They all felt that Su Feibai was stronger than Kang Shinmu. Therefore, it was normal for them to stand on his side. Once it was proven that he, Su Feibai, was inferior to Kang Shinmu, there was no doubt that the disciples of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land would no longer stand on his side. He had to stop this from happening. Junior brother Kang Shinmu is too impulsive. Su Feibai suddenly sighed and said as if he couldn't bear to watch, as a senior brother, I can't just watch him die at the hands of the demonic beasts. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Divine Dragon and followed closely behind Kang Shinmu. Of course, he didn't want to deal with 2 demonic beasts like Kang Shinmu had said. Instead, he planned to do the same thing as before. He just needed to cooperate with Kang Shinmu and let others think that he was cooperating with Kang Shinmu to kill the demonic beasts. That was enough. If he really couldn't resist, then he wouldn't really share the burden with Kang Shinmu. If Kang Shinmu died, then he died. In any case, he had already done what he needed to do. He had persuaded and helped, but Kang Shinmu still died. What else could he do? Not only could he prove himself and continue to mislead others, but he could also gain the greater good. It had to be said that Su Feibai's methods were truly disgusting. Unfortunately, the disciples of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land really fell for it. Senior brother is so righteous. As expected of senior brother Feibai. Even so, he still went to save that Kang Shinmu. In comparison, that Kang Shinmu is too insensible. Not only did he go to his death, but he also forced senior brother Feibai into a dangerous situation. The disciples of the Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land started discussing. But asking them to help, they didn't dare. Those 4 demonic beasts were all 9th-level transcendent god existences. If they were to face those 4 demonic beasts, they would probably be killed in one wave with their strength. They didn't dare to go at all. They had never thought that Kang Shinmu was only a 4th-level transcendent god. Kang Shinmu flew in front and was about to meet the 9th-level transcendent god demonic beasts. In the end, he didn't expect that Su Feibai would actually follow him. Why was he acting like a dog skin plaster? Didn't you say that it was dangerous? Why are you still following me? Stay away. Kang Shinmu sneered and said to Su Feibai. I can't just stand by and watch. Su Feibai said seriously. Now you know how to stand by and watch? Kang Shinmu mocked him and said indifferently, do whatever you want. But if you really want to come over, don't blame me for being impolite. I don't mind fighting the 5 of you alone. Su Feibai's expression froze when he said that. 1 against 5? What did that mean? For 9th-level transcendent god demonic beasts. And him, Su Feibai? Isn't this kid a little too audacious? The key was that Kang Shinmu could say that, but he, Su Feibai, couldn't really besiege Kang Shinmu with the demonic beasts. I have to go. Once he really proves himself, I will lose all face and my reputation will be ruined. Su Feibai's expression darkened. He had to help Kang Shinmu. Even if Kang Shinmu beat him, he had to help Kang Shinmu. However, just as he was about to rush forward, 19 layers of despair canopy. Layers of pitch-black devouring power condensed into a canopy of despair, blocking in front of Su Feibai, completely blocking him. Immediately after, Kang Shinmu clashed with the 4 9th-level transcendent god demonic beasts. Chapter 55-60. Kang Shinmu blocked Su Feibai's path without hesitation. Then, he turned around and unleashed multiple extreme destructive heavenly might dragon souls to fight against the 4 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creatures. This made the expressions of everyone around change drastically. Wasn't Kang Shinmu too arrogant? He actually said that he could fight against 5 demonic creatures alone. Most importantly, he didn't just rely on words. He even put it into action and blocked Su Feibai behind him. How arrogant was he? However, it just so happened that everyone was shocked by Jiang Shenwu's actions and none of them dared to utter a single word. This was because Kang Shinmu's battle had reached its climax. Terrifying demonic aura spread in all directions. The 4 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creatures released demonic aura techniques at Kang Shinmu. Countless demonic aura vortexes and storms completely enveloped Kang Shinmu. Unfortunately, Kang Shinmu had already been devouring demonic aura. His resistance to the power of these demonic creatures had reached its strongest state. Even if these 4 demonic creatures joined forces and the demonic aura attacked Kang Shinmu's black dragon body, it wouldn't cause much damage to Kang Shinmu. As for Kang Shinmu, he had already unleashed the full potential of the glorious transformation treasure, the 33 Sky Divine Plume. 33 extreme destructive heavenly might dragon souls. A total of 33 dragon souls charged forward and surrounded one of the 9th-tier transcendent god demonic creatures. Then, they suddenly exploded, breaking through it and dispersing it. One demonic creature was taken care of. Kang Shinmu's attacks were extremely swift and fierce. He didn't give those demonic creatures any chance. With just one move, he killed one demonic creature with terrifying power. This scene caused the expressions of the disciples of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land behind him to change. Especially Su Feibai, he was so angry that his face turned pale. His eyes were filled with shock and gloom. He realized that Kang Shinmu was really strong. It was so strong that it could directly kill a supreme god level 9 demonic creature. In his understanding, this was completely impossible. If Kang Shinmu had such strength, why didn't he use it just now? What he didn't know was that Kang Shinmu was just warming up. For Kang Shinmu, his true peak combat strength could only be displayed after a period of battle. He needed to devour his opponent's power to increase his resistance. He also needed to let the power of the 33 Heavens Divine Feather gradually erupt. In the beginning, the 33 Heavens Divine Plume could only display 9 layers of attacks. But now, Kang Shinmu's first move was the 33 layers of the Super Divine Dragon Martial Skill. It was enough to destroy a demon in one move. Su Feibai was extremely anxious right now. He could tell that Kang Shinmu's strength had already erupted to an unimaginable level. If he really allowed Kang Shinmu to get rid of those 4 devils, wouldn't he, Su Feibai, lose all his standing and reputation today? Absolutely not. However, he didn't have any good ideas right now. Kang Shinmu's 10 layers of canopy of despair blocked his way, making it impossible for him to break through and pretend to help. Moreover, Kang Shinmu had just said that he wanted to fight 5 of them alone. Given the combat strength that Kang Shinmu had displayed, if he really attacked Su Feibai, it was very likely that Su Feibai would be killed. Su Feibai was too depressed, but he didn't dare to do anything at this time. After thinking for a long time, there was only one feasible plan. Kang Shinmu naturally didn't know what Su Feibai was doing. He had just destroyed one of the Supreme God level 9 demonic creatures, but there were still 3 demonic creatures surrounding him. Extreme Destructive Heavenly Might Dragon Soul. The pitch-black dragon soul whistled through the air, and it smashed down wave after wave, causing those devils to be unable to dodge or resist it at all. Most importantly, under the effect of the devouring power, Kang Shinmu didn't show any signs of exhaustion. Instead, he became more and more courageous as he fought. All the energy that he consumed could be absorbed from the bodies of the demonic creatures. Although Kang Shinmu couldn't use the devoured demonic energy directly, he could use it after the devouring power was converted. He could easily restore his strength, and he was at his peak condition almost all the time. Kill. Kill again. The last one. Just like that, the 4 Supreme God level 9th level demonic creatures were blasted apart by Kang Shinmu one after another, shattering into waves of demonic energy that scattered everywhere. It was too shocking. At first, just one Supreme God level 9th level demonic creature was enough to make Su Feibai and the others flee. In fact, Su Feibai didn't even dare to care about Yu Tiansheng and the other 2 women. He even used Yu Tiansheng and the other 2 women as bait and threw them to the back to attract the attention of the demonic creatures so that it would be easier for him to escape. Unfortunately, he didn't expect that Kang Shinmu would appear and be so powerful. 4 Supreme God level 9th level demonic creatures were blasted apart. Previously, Su Feibai had pretended to say that he had helped Kang Shinmu, which allowed Kang Shinmu to defeat the demonic creatures. In the end, it was a huge slap in the face. Kang Shinmu could kill 4 Supreme God level 9th level demonic creatures alone. Why would he need Su Feibai? If Su Feibai was really that strong, he wouldn't have been able to escape with them in the first place. All of a sudden, everyone realized that there was a problem with Su Feibai. This person definitely had a huge problem. He clearly didn't have the strength, yet he pretended to be. After Kang Shinmu appeared, he even mocked and ridiculed Kang Shinmu. He was simply outrageous. Thinking about how they had spoken up for Su Feibai just now, many disciples of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Now that the truth was out, there was no doubt that Su Feibai wasn't doing things properly. As for Kang Shinmu, he was truly a hero. His battle prowess was tyrannical, and he actually had the battle prowess of a peak Supreme God level. This was simply amazing. This was even equivalent to some elders of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land, right? Too strong. Moreover, he was righteous and did not seem to have any opinions about Su Feibai at first. It was Su Feibai who had come to cause trouble. Seeing that Yu Tianchang was being chased, Kang Shinmu made a move to stop the demonic creatures. At that time, Su Feibai had thought that Kang Shinmu was forcing him to make a move. But now, it seemed that Kang Shinmu did not care about him at all. I've killed them. I have to devour that demonic chi rift. That's the source of the demonic creature's appearance. Kang Shinmu pondered in his heart. Right at this moment, the disciples of the Five Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land behind him exclaimed. Then, they heard a scream. This scream seemed to be coming from Su Feibai. What is he up to now? Kang Shinmu frowned slightly. Then, he looked back, and saw that Su Feibai had actually crashed into his canopy of despair and seemed to have been seriously injured. He actually pretended to be seriously injured by Kang Shinmu? What a weirdo. Chapter 55-61. Kang Shinmu could tell what Su Feibai was thinking at a glance. And sure enough, after Su Feibai let out a blood-curdling scream, the female disciple who had always disliked Jiang Shenwu immediately spoke up. Kang Shinmu, are you still human? How dare you attack a senior brother of the Holy Land? This 7th-level divine realm female disciple of the Holy Land of 5 Extreme Mysterious Ice had always had a soft spot for Su Feibai. When she realized that Kang Shinmu had such terrifying strength, she was in a state of panic. She did not want to believe that the senior brother Su Feibai she had always respected was such a despicable person. But now, Su Feibai had been injured by Kang Shinmu's dragon martial technique. And it looked like he was seriously injured. The female disciple immediately stood up and criticized Kang Shinmu. As far as I know, this Kang Shinmu has been in the demon god race great world with the Su royal family. He seems to have obtained some kind of heaven and earth holy treasure. In my opinion, this Kang Shinmu just used a heaven and earth holy treasure to defeat the demon. That's very possible. No wonder he could kill those 4 9th-level divine realm demonic beasts even though he's only a 4th-level divine realm demonic beast. I've never heard of it. How can a 4th-level divine realm demonic beast fight against a peak-level divine realm demonic beast? For a moment, everyone started discussing. They pointed at Kang Shinmu in the distance. In their opinion, Kang Shinmu had relied on a heaven and earth holy treasure to defeat the demonic beast. It had nothing to do with his own combat strength. In fact, Kang Shinmu did not even use the extreme 10-directional devil seal. Because although he could control the power of this thing, he did not know that the current dragon martial continent could withstand O Chang's power. Once he used a power that exceeded what the dragon martial continent could withstand, the entire dragon martial continent might collapse. Therefore, it was impossible for Kang Shinmu to use the extreme 10-directional devil seal in the current dragon martial continent. He had used his own strength to defeat those 4 9th-level divine realm demonic beasts. Sigh. Seeing this, Kang Shinmu could not help but sigh and shake his head. How could there be such a vulgar person in this world? He could not figure it out. However, these people usually interacted with Su Feibai and were completely unfamiliar with him. Therefore, when something happened, it was completely normal for them to stand on Su Feibai's side. As for Su Feibai, Kang Shinmu glanced in that direction. The black dragon glided through the air and retracted the power of the canopy of despair. My super god spirit martial skill is Despair Canopy. Some of you should be cultivating, right? This is a defensive dragon martial skill. Senior brother Su Feibai was seriously injured by my defensive dragon martial skill. Isn't this too strange? Kang Shinmu said lightly. Nonsense. Someone immediately shouted, the canopy of despair is a single layer of defense. How can it be like yours? You actually have nearly 20 layers? 33 Heaven's Godly Plume. Have you heard of the glorious transformation treasure? Kang Shinmu glanced at that person. That person was instantly speechless. Of course he had heard of the 33 Heaven's Godly Plume. This was an extremely powerful glorious transformation treasure material. However, he did not expect to see it in reality. After all, to him, the 33 Heaven's Godly Plume was too precious. Ordinary dragon martial artists could not afford it at all. Even a powerhouse like Su Feibai would find it extremely difficult to purchase the 33 Heaven's Godly Plume. After all, it was rare, and many dragon martial artists wanted it. Not only dragon martial artists, but also many foreign martial artists. Those who could obtain the 33 Heavens godly plume were always in the minority. Of course, he did not expect Kang Shinmu to have the 33 Heavens godly plume. Therefore, after hearing what Kang Shinmu said, this person was completely speechless. You said that senior brother Feibai was not injured by you. Then why did he scream? From the looks of it, his injuries are very serious. Could it be that he suddenly got injured? The female disciple sneered. You are also a weirdo. Kang Shinmu glanced at her and casually said, since you think that his injuries are very serious, why are you still talking nonsense here? Why don't you go over and see how his injuries are? Perhaps if you miss the opportunity to heal him, he will die. Kang Shinmu's words caused the female disciple to choke. You actually cursed senior brother Feibai. Shut up. Kang Shinmu glanced at her, his expression turning incomparably cold. I really did not expect that the disciples of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land would be so unreasonable. I will report today's matter to the seniors of the holy land. Kang Shinmu could not be bothered to say anything more to them about this matter. As for that Su Feibai, Kang Shinmu naturally could not be bothered to care about him. Let's go. Kang Shinmu brought Su Yi and turned to leave. Yu Tianchang and the other 2 girls also followed closely behind. They could not stay with Su Feibai and the others anymore. Kang Shinmu directly headed for the crack in the demonic chi, leaving the girls to stay in the distance. Only he flew towards the crack in the demonic chi alone. His devouring power spread out and completely sealed the crack in the demonic chi, and he began to devour it, not long after. The seniors of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land arrived. They were 3 elders of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land. They were all peak transcendent god level experts. These elders were not ordinary peak transcendent gods. They were all super experts who could go to a transcendent god level ancient ruin and successfully come out alive. When the 3 elders arrived, Yi Qingtang's expression changed. Su Feibai and the others immediately surrounded them, adding fuel to the fire, saying that Kang Shinmu's actions just now, accusing Kang Shinmu of actually attacking his own people. Needless to say, this Su Feibai was really injured. He even suffered internal injuries. This was, of course, an act. If he did not act a little better, how could he have harmed Kang Shinmu? Unfortunately, these 3 elders were genuine elders. They were existences that could run amok in the current dragon continent. What peak transcendent god-level demonic beings could not withstand a single blow from them? How could they not have some tricks up their sleeves? Get out of the way. One of the elders transformed into a divine dragon tens of thousands of feet long. He raised his dragon claw, and a sacred item flew out. It was an incomparably ancient mirror. The Mirror of Recall. In this mirror, the scene of Kang Shinmu and Su Feibai's attacks began to appear. The entire process was clear at a glance. This situation caused the faces of Su Feibai and the others to turn pale. This elder actually had such a trick up his sleeves. What kind of heavenly treasure was this ancient mirror? It could actually replay the scene that had just happened. They had completely miscalculated. The faces of Su Feibai and the others immediately darkened. They were finished. All of you are truly disappointing. The few of you, go back and reflect on your actions for this elder. You are confined for 3 years, and you are not allowed to go out. The 3 elders quickly understood the situation, and they were so angry that their eyebrows were furrowed. Each and every one of them blew their beards and glared at them. They simply didn't expect that the 9th-ranked disciple of their holy land would actually be like this. Kang Shinmu was not surprised by the elders' clear observation. If the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land were like these disciples, stirring up trouble, they would have long since declined. Just like many of the holy lands that had declined. Chapter 55-62. With the arrival of the 3 elders of the Holy Land of 5 Extremes mysterious ice, the whole matter was finally over. Su Feibai, Pu Tianhua, and the others were all punished. Su Feibai, who was the most severely punished, would be confined for 3 years after he returned, not allowed to go out. As for the others, although their punishment was not as severe, it was not good either. At the very least, they had left a bad impression in the eyes of the 3 elders. Moreover, they would all be confined for a few months. In particular, the female disciple who had been clinging to Kang Xinmu was directly confined for 2 years, only 1 year less than Su Feibai's punishment. How unbearable! Just like that, the group of people was sent back. As for the 3 elders, 2 of them went to send Su Feibai and the others back. The remaining elder with the mirror of retrospection went to find Su Yi and the others. Now that Kang Xinmu was devouring the demon Qi rift, he did not come to disturb him. It was the same to tell some things to Su Yi. How vexing. I'm already so old, but I didn't expect the younger generation to be so spoiled. The elder sighed and looked in the direction of Kang Xinmu. Only Kang Xinmu can become the pillar of our holy land in the future. By the way, what is he doing? He was a little curious about Kang Xinmu's situation. He's devouring the demon Qi rift. Su Yi answered. This answer made the elder's eyes light up. Devouring the demon Qi rift. Was there such a powerful technique? It was not just this elder. Even Yu Tiangsheng and the other 2 women were a little surprised. They did not know that the demon Qi rift could be devoured. Amazing, amazing. Heroes come from the young. The elder nodded in satisfaction. The more he looked at Kang Xinmu, the more he found him pleasing to the eye. From the scene of the mirror of retrospection just now, he could see that Kang Xinmu did not use any heaven and earth holy items at all. The reason he could defeat so many 9th-tier transcendent god monsters was because Kang Xinmu was strong enough. Most importantly, he must have a good character. Kang Xinmu didn't get angry even when faced with a scoundrel like Su Feibai. In fact, if Kang Xinmu got angry on the spot, he could have seriously injured Su Feibai. But Kang Xinmu did not. He was just waiting for the elders of the 5 extreme dark ice holy land to come and deal with it. From this, it could be seen that Kang Xinmu's character was very good. This further deepened the elders' feeling that heroes come from youth. I am Luo Yufeng. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can come to the sacred land to find me. The elder said with a smile. However, with Kang Xinmu's talent, I'm afraid that this old man won't be able to help him for long. He looked at Kang Xinmu as if he was looking at a treasure. To him, Kang Xinmu represented the future of the 5 extremes dark ice holy land. In fact, with the talent that Kang Xinmu was currently displaying, he would probably break through to the supreme level sooner or later. When that time came, he would have to look up to Kang Xinmu. Of course, in the eyes of this elder, Luo Yufeng, it would definitely take a very long time for Kang Xinmu to break through to the supreme level. It was impossible for him to be so fast. However, he did not know that the supreme level was far from the end for Kang Xinmu. His real focus was the ancestral dragon. Therefore, even if he became a dragon martial artist with a dragon soul, Kang Xinmu would not stop, let alone the supreme level. Soon, Elder Luo Yufeng left. As for Kang Xinmu, the process of devouring the demonic Qi rift was also nearing its end. The demonic Qi rift he devoured this time was much stronger than the previous one. This was because at least 6 9th-tier transcendent god monsters had emerged from this demonic Qi rift. Every time a monster of this level appeared, it would make the demonic Qi rift stronger. To Kang Xinmu, this powerful demonic Qi rift was a great supplement. All of its power was devoured by Kang Xinmu and integrated into his body. After being transformed by the devouring power, he could even improve his cultivation. Not only did it deepen Kang Xinmu's understanding of the space attribute void power, but it also made his devouring power purer, thus improving the realm of the dragon god race's inheritance. 5th tier transcendent god. I can break through now. Kang Shinmu did not expect his breakthrough speed to be so fast. However, this was normal. After all, in terms of the demon god race's inheritance, he had obtained the 16-winged heavenly demon god's inheritance and had already cultivated to the 5th-tier transcendent god level. Moreover, Kang Shinmu had already consolidated and familiarized himself with this level of power. Therefore, now that the dragon god race's inheritance had improved, it was like taking advantage of the situation for him. There was no sense of obstruction at all, and everything was going with the flow. Moreover, he did not need to consolidate this level of power, because he was already able to use this level of power like a finger. The dragon god race is still stronger. Kang Shinmu thought to himself. In the inheritance of the 16-winged heavenly demon god, Kang Shinmu had broken through to the 5th-tier transcendent god level, which was why he had the combat power of a peak transcendent god. With the devouring dragon god race's inheritance, he had already reached the peak transcendent god level when he was only at the 4th-tier transcendent god level. After all, the devouring power was the inherent power of the dragon god race's inheritance. When using the demon god race's inheritance power, the devouring power could not be fully exerted. It's a pity that the devouring of this demonic chi rift is not as great as the dragon scale I devoured previously. Kang Shinmu felt that it was a pity. However, there was more than one demonic chi rift. Currently, the entire dragon martial continent was filled with such demonic chi rifts. Demonic creatures of various levels of strength constantly emerged and surged toward the dragon ceiling abyss. These demonic chi rifts were Kang Shinmu's targets. He turned around and met up with Su Yi, Yu Tiancheng, and the others. In that case, follow me. If stronger demonic creatures appear, I can deal with them. You can help me get rid of some of the demonic creatures that are obstructing me. Kang Shinmu decided to act with the 4 women. As the 4 women were a little slow, in order to buy time, Kang Shinmu let them return to their human forms and stand on the neck of his divine dragon body. This was the same as Su Yi. Thus, a black divine dragon that was hundreds of feet long flew toward another demonic chi rift in the distance. 4 beautiful girls were standing on the neck of his divine dragon. Feeling the scenery around them constantly moving backward and the wind blowing, Yu Tiancheng could not help but feel a little emotional. She recalled the first time she met Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu was still her junior brother. But now, he had grown much stronger than her. Chapter 55-63. Kang Shinmu led the 4 women forward. Along the way, if they encountered any demonic cracks, they would directly devour them. If there were any powerful demonic creatures, he would naturally deal with them. However, as long as they were not too strong, he would leave them to the 4 women to deal with. This would save Kang Shinmu time and allow him to devour other demonic cracks faster. It would also allow the 4 women to gain some experience and improve their combat experience. Soon, a day had passed. Kang Shinmu and the others had cleared 7 or 8 demonic cracks along the way. Unfortunately, these demonic cracks did not contain much energy, so they did not have much effect on Kang Shinmu's improvement. He took the time to break through the realm of the Dragon God clan's inheritance and reached the 5th level of the Supreme God realm. His combat strength had skyrocketed again, allowing him to fight against some demonic creatures at the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme God realm. He did not even need the 33 Heavens Divine Feather to warm up. With a single blow, he would be able to kill that demonic creature. Then, all the demonic energy was devoured by Kang Shinmu and turned into nourishment for him to restore the power he had consumed. Even at night, Kang Shinmu and the others did not stop to rest. Instead, they continued to clear the demonic vortex. All the way to the sealed dragon abyss. As there were too many demonic cracks, Kang Shinmu was not in a hurry to go to the sealed dragon abyss. There were the most experts there, so he did not have to worry about the sealed dragon abyss being breached. One night passed. At dawn, Kang Shinmu continued to move forward with the 4 women. Soon, they arrived at a mountain range with extremely dense demonic energy. They could feel that there were probably several demonic cracks in this mountain range at the same time. Moreover, many demonic creatures had already emerged, and they were not weak. All of you, be careful. In addition to the demonic energy, I also feel that there are many experts inside. Kang Shinmu said solemnly, I'll go in and take a look first. If they are in danger, I'll save them. Okay. Yu Tianchang and the others nodded and stopped on a mountain peak at the edge of the mountain range. They watched as Kang Shinmu flew into the mountains. They were not worried about his safety. After all, Kang Shinmu's battle prowess was too strong. He could kill a supreme god-level demonic being in one blow, let alone others. Moreover, even if a supreme being were to appear, Kang Shinmu would definitely have a way to kill the other party. Very soon, Kang Shinmu transformed into a black dragon and flew towards the valley. He could hear a series of dragon roars from afar. All kinds of energies exploded in the mountain range, and demonic energy kept bursting out, spreading out waves of demonic energy. When Kang Shinmu turned around a call, he discovered that in the mountain range ahead, there were indeed 3 connected devil chi cracks. There was even some connection between these 3 demonic energy rifts. Some of the demonic energy was connected to each other, strengthening each other. This allowed the 3 demonic chi rifts to pass through more powerful demonic creatures faster. At this moment, there was a team of dragon martialists in the field. This team of dragon martialists had a total of 8 people, all of whom could be considered supreme god-level experts. The strongest one was only a 6th-tier supreme god, and it seemed like he was not from the 5 extremes Dark Ice Holy Land. Instead, he was from other holy lands. Now that the dragon martial continent was in such a situation, the dragon god's great world naturally sent all the holy lands over. On the one hand, they could increase their combat level, and on the other hand, they could receive rewards from the Dragon Soul Holy Tower. He's only a 6th-tier supreme god, and yet he brought his team to the vicinity of these 3 demonic energy rifts. He's too careless. Kang Shinmu looked at the 8 gathered dragon martialists in the field. They all transformed into their divine dragon forms and unleashed their strongest defensive means. These defensive powers gathered together and joined forces, and only then did they manage to resist the attacks of the surrounding demonic creatures. Kang Shinmu saw this and knew that these people would not be able to hold on for long. He immediately charged into the battle circle. On the battlefield, the strongest demonic creature was only at the 7th-tier supreme god level. Kang Shinmu directly targeted this demonic creature and unleashed the extreme heavens might dragon soul. The pitch-black dragon soul brought with it layers of air waves as it swept out and instantly hit the 7th-tier supreme god demonic creature. At this moment, the demonic energy exploded. The demonic creature could not withstand Kang Shinmu's terrifying attack at all. It was directly shattered by the extreme heavens might dragon soul, and waves of demonic energy dissipated in all directions. At the same time, the 8 supreme god-level dragon martialists who were surrounded by demonic creatures were overjoyed when they saw this. Great, someone is here to help us. That's not right. I feel that this person is clearly only a 5th-tier supreme god. How did he kill the leader of the demonic creatures with a single strike? There are many geniuses who can challenge those of a higher level these days. This person should be a genius. Why do I feel that he looks a little like Kang Shinmu from the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land? Everyone discussed animatedly, their faces filled with joy. To them, the current situation was very urgent. Although they had already informed the elders and experts of the Holy Land to come and support them, it would probably take a long time for them to arrive. If Kang Shinmu had not appeared, some of them would probably not be able to hold on much longer. Now, even though Kang Shinmu had only killed one of the 7th-tier supreme god demonic creatures, the pressure on them had been greatly reduced. Let's charge in the direction of the reinforcements together. The leader of the dragon martialists immediately shouted and took the lead to roar out a thunderous dragon breath, forcing a demonic creature on the way away. The others followed closely behind him and rushed out of the encirclement of the demonic creatures. Soon, they would be able to meet up with Kang Shinmu. Thank you for helping us out. May I ask if you are senior brother Kang Shinmu from the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land? There were a total of 5 men and 3 women. When they came to meet up with Kang Shinmu, their eyes were filled with gratitude. That's me. Kang Shinmu nodded. As his pitch-black divine dragon body passed through the crowd, he said in a deep voice, "You guys retreat first. Leave this to me." He charged directly toward the large group of demonic creatures that were chasing behind him. At this moment, the expressions of the many dragon martialists changed when they saw his actions. As expected of the rumored Kang Shinmu. He's actually so bold. He should be confident, right? How confident can he be? That's dozens of demonic creatures. Just because he was able to kill that 7th-tier supreme god demonic creature doesn't mean that he can deal with so many demonic creatures at the same time. That's right. Those demonic creatures were all focused on us just now. As long as his attack is strong enough, he can kill that 7th-tier supreme god demonic creature. But now, he wants to face so many demonic creatures alone. How is that possible? Chapter 55-64. The dragon warriors were all in disbelief as they observed Kang Shinmu from afar. They didn't dare to help Kang Shinmu at all. Because the despair they felt when they were surrounded by the demonic creatures was too terrifying. None of them wanted to experience it a second time. At this moment, as they watched Kang Shinmu face the large group of supreme god-level demonic creatures, they were extremely shocked and bewildered. Could Kang Shinmu really fight against so many demonic creatures? They were all extremely nervous. As Kang Shinmu was about to clash with the large group of demonic creatures, none of them dared to speak. Their eyes were filled with nervousness. Come on. In front of Kang Shinmu, there were 40 to 50 supreme god-level demonic creatures, ranging from the 1st to the 5th level of the supreme god level. These demonic creatures were nothing in front of Kang Shinmu. But Kang Shinmu didn't care. To him, all these demonic creatures together could not hurt him at all. Finally, the group of demonic creatures swept over in a frenzy, releasing waves of violent demonic energy in midair. Waves of demonic aura and demonic energy surged towards Kang Shinmu. The overwhelming demonic energy surged over and instantly enveloped Kang Shinmu's pitch-black divine dragon body. In an instant, Kang Shinmu's entire divine dragon body was engulfed by the surging demonic energy. This scene caused the hearts of the 8 dragon warriors behind him to tremble. The group of demonic creatures' terrifying attack was actually so terrifying. If they had encountered such a terrifying joint attack just now, they probably wouldn't have been able to hold on. Fortunately, when they were fighting with the demonic creatures just now, they had separated the demonic creatures into several battlefields and were not able to join forces. Otherwise, they would have been killed long ago. And at this moment, how is Kang Shinmu? I hope he's fine. He was so cool when he saved us just now. Does he look like he's going to be fine? With such violent demonic creatures attacking together, even a 6th or 7th tier transcendent god wouldn't be able to withstand it, let alone a 5th tier transcendent god. I think so too. Those monsters are so violent that they are definitely not something that a 5th level transcendent god realm dragon warrior can resist. What do we do now? Should we run? Let's retreat first. We can't help Kang Shinmu in any way. Let's retreat to a safe area and wait for the Holy Land's elders to come. They were very grateful to Kang Shinmu. But looking at Kang Shinmu, who was now engulfed by the boundless demonic chi, they felt helpless. If they had a way, they wouldn't have been surrounded by those demonic creatures just now. He's overconfident. He should have left with us earlier, a slender female dragon warrior sighed. Now, there was no other way. They could only wait for the elders of the Holy Land to arrive. However, just as they turned around and were about to leave, Kang Shinmu, who had been attacked by the demonic creatures and had been enveloped by countless demonic chi, suddenly let out a violent dragon roar. The dragon roar resounded through the sky. Then, A wave of devouring power spread out in all directions, forming a devouring vortex that sucked in the dozens of demonic creatures. Heaven devouring thousand directional break. The terrifying devouring vortex spread out in all directions with Kang Shinmu's black dragon body as the center. Heaven devouring dragon martial technique. At this moment, some unique dragon martial techniques appeared in Kang Shinmu's mind. They were specially compatible with his devouring talent and could perfectly unleash the attack power of his devouring talent. Thousand directional break was the easiest move to comprehend among these devouring dragon martial techniques. This move condensed the devouring power into a devouring vortex, devouring all the power and living beings in the surroundings and turning them into nutrients for Kang Shinmu. It was perfect to use in a one versus many situation. The heaven devouring dragon martial technique that Kang Shinmu used now, thousand directional break, was only at the level that he had just comprehended. The initial level was the human level. If he could comprehend it to the earth level, dragon level, or even the heaven level, it would undoubtedly become extremely terrifying. After all, this was an inherited dragon martial technique that belonged to the chaotic heaven devouring dragon, right? At this point, Kang Shinmu's combat power was finally sufficient to obtain some unique dragon martial techniques. When he used the simplest heaven devouring thousand directional break, all the devouring power in his body condensed and formed a terrifying vortex around the black dragon body. Thousand directional break vortex formed. The dozens of demonic creatures that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws were sucked into the vortex at the same time. In the process of being sucked in, the devouring power was constantly tearing at the bodies of the demonic creatures. The terrifying power was quickly unbearable for these demonic creatures. In the end, these demonic creatures exploded one by one in the thousand directional break vortex, turning into countless devil chi fragments. These devil chi fragments were all sucked into the center of the vortex. The center of the vortex. This was the root of the thousand directional break martial technique. The endless devouring power sucked in the remains of the surrounding demonic creatures, turning them into the purest devil chi and being devoured by the devouring power. All the demonic creatures were torn to pieces by the thousand directional break martial technique. All the power was sucked in by the devouring vortex, turning into the purest power in Kang Shinmu's body. After this move, not only did Kang Shinmu not consume much power, but he also felt a little full because of the devoured devil chi. After a long time, the thousand directional break devouring vortex finally dissipated slowly. The group of young dragon martialists from the other sacred lands widened their eyes when they saw this scene. They couldn't believe that this scene was real. Kang Shinmu actually killed that group of demonic creatures. It was simply unbelievable. How is this possible? He's only at the 5th level of the transcendent god realm. So many of us couldn't resist that group of demonic creatures, but he actually resisted it alone? You're wrong. How is this resisting? He crushed that group of demonic creatures. Isn't this man too terrifying? As expected of a super genius who can reverse the situation of the entire 5 extremes Dark Ice Holy Land. They all recalled the time when the sacred lands were competing in the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower. Kang Shinmu had single-handedly pulled up the ranking of the 5 extremes Dark Ice Holy Land. What kind of terrifying talent was this? Previously, they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, so they didn't have a deep impression of Kang Shinmu. But now, when they witnessed with their own eyes that Kang Shinmu was able to destroy so many demonic creatures with one move, they were convinced. Chapter 55-65. All of a sudden, everyone was amazed and convinced. They were convinced by Kang Shinmu's battle prowess. When they thought that Kang Shinmu was about to be killed, they couldn't help but smile bitterly. They had no idea how strong Kang Shinmu was. It's a pity that our holy land doesn't have such a genius. What's a pity? They're all geniuses of our dragon gods. I'll be a fan of senior brother Shenwu in the future. He's too strong. He took care of so many demonic creatures with one move. Most importantly, he's only at the 5th level of the Supreme God Realm. In comparison, a 5th level supreme god, is too weak. Everyone started to discuss. But soon, their expressions changed slightly. They could clearly see that a stronger demonic creature had appeared in each of the 3 demonic chi cracks in the valley ahead. There were a total of 3. All of them had the strength of an 8th level supreme god. They had actually moved out together. In the eyes of these dragon martial artists, an 8th level supreme god was an opponent that they could never defeat. One had to know that among the group of demonic creatures just now, there was only one 7th level supreme god. The rest were at most 5th level supreme god. They couldn't hold on any longer. Now that an 8th level supreme god had appeared, how could they be a match for it? It's over. This 8th level supreme god is not just a little stronger than the previous demonic creatures. Senior brother Kang Shinmu, quickly retreat with us. The elders of our holy land should be here soon. We were saved by senior brother Kang Shinmu this time. We have to treat him to a good meal later. I'm just afraid that he won't do us the honor. Haha. After all, senior brother Kang Shinmu must be very busy. They were already discussing what to do next. To them, they didn't even consider the 8th level supreme god demonic creatures as opponents that they should face. Therefore, they were already thinking of escaping this place. They were still quite far from the 3 demonic chi cracks, so it wouldn't be easy for the 3 8th level supreme god demonic creatures to catch up to them. It would be easy for them to escape from this place. However, just when they thought that Kang Shinmu would leave with them, the scene in front of them stunned them. However, the pitch-black divine dragon that Kang Shinmu had transformed into had no intention of turning back. Instead, he was approaching the 3 demonic chi cracks. From the looks of it, he was going to deal with the 3 supreme god level 8 demonic creatures. Is senior brother Kang Shinmu crazy? That's a level 8 supreme god beast. He's only at the 5th level of the transcendent god realm. How can he be a match for the devil? The group of demonic creatures that we killed earlier looked very strong, but that's because there weren't any particularly strong ones among them. That's right. A group of 5th-tier transcendent gods can't even compare to an 8th-tier transcendent god. Senior brother Kang Shinmu is actually going to challenge an 8th-tier transcendent god monster? All of them widened their eyes. They couldn't believe that Kang Shinmu would make such a decision. In their opinion, it was the best choice for them to retreat together now. The truly powerful demonic creatures should naturally be left to the more powerful dragon martial artists to deal with. But now, Kang Shinmu's actions were completely contrary to what they had expected. He actually took the initiative to face the fiendish 8th level supreme god beast. At this moment, especially the 3 female dragon martial artists, their eyes were filled with worry. To them, Kang Shinmu's performance just now was already extremely good. It had already left an extremely deep impression in their hearts. Now that they saw that Kang Shinmu was actually going to deal with the 3 supreme god 8th level supreme god beasts, they couldn't help but feel worried. In their opinion, it would be a pity if a genius like Kang Shinmu died here. The others were also a little worried. If something were to happen to Kang Shinmu, they wouldn't feel good either. After all, they were the ones who watched Kang Shinmu get into trouble. When the time came, why didn't they help Kang Shinmu? Although the opponent was completely beyond their level, it wouldn't be nice to talk about it. As for Kang Shinmu, he didn't care about what those young dragon martial artists were thinking. Of course, those dragon martial artists weren't young anymore. Many of the 6th-tier and 7th-tier disciples of the Holy Lands might have cultivated for decades. It was especially so for those with higher cultivation realms. The dragon martial artists who were at the 5th tier of the super divine dragon realm could have cultivated for more than 100 years. As for Kang Shinmu, he didn't pay much attention to them. In fact, to him, the 3 supreme god 8th level demonic creatures in front of him were nothing at all. He didn't pay much attention to them at all. Soon, he moved forward in his black dragon body, accompanied by a wave of devouring power. The 3 supreme god 8th level demonic creatures were shrouded in a terrifying demonic aura and had strange-looking tentacles. After coming out of the demonic aura, they surrounded Kang Shinmu. After all, Kang Shinmu was the dragon martial artist closest to the demonic aura and was also the first choice of the 3 demonic creatures. Soon, Kang Shinmu's black dragon body charged forward, targeting one of the demonic creatures. What greeted him was the attack of the extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul. Originally, Kang Shinmu's extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul needed to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy to increase its power. But now, it wasn't needed. As Kang Shinmu's cultivation level was much higher than before, he didn't need to accumulate power to deal with a few Supreme God 8th level demonic creatures. He could even deal with Supreme God 9th level demonic creatures in an instant. Extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul. Kang Shinmu's black dragon body charged forward, releasing the extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul. As the pitch-black dragon soul emerged, streams of dragon breath shot toward the 3 demonic creatures. The body of the black dragon soul was incomparably deep and exuded a terrifying aura. The extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul's breath instantly bombarded the 3 demonic creatures that took the initiative to approach him. With a single strike, the demonic creature was torn to shreds. Then, it was the other 2 demonic creatures. After the extreme destructive heavenly might dragon soul was released, the entire place was filled with the black dragon's breath condensed by the endless devouring power. It swept toward the demonic creatures in a frenzy. In just a short moment, the 3 Supreme God 8th level demonic creatures were all torn apart by this power. The bodies of the demonic creatures exploded. The devouring power swept the entire place, condensing all the power and integrating it into Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. To him, all of this was a very simple matter. However, this scene caused the eyes of the 8 dragon martial artists from the other sacred lands to widen. They couldn't believe what they were seeing at all. Originally, they thought that Kang Shinmu would be at a disadvantage, or even defeated by the 3 demonic creatures. Chapter 55-66. What was shocking? That was shocking. At that moment, the 8 dragon martialists from the other sacred lands were completely shocked by Kang Shinmu and stood rooted to the ground. The eyes of the mystical dragons were filled with disbelief. They were still thinking that Kang Shinmu was going to be crushed, but in the end, Jiang Shenwu had actually turned the tables and crushed the 3 8th level Supreme God realm demonic creatures. In just a few breaths of time, he had completely killed the 3 beasts and destroyed them one by one. Senior brother Kang Shinmu is actually so powerful. It turns out that we have underestimated him. That's not all. I think he doesn't seem to have any intention of leaving. These 3 demonic chi rifts are definitely not something we should touch at our level. Now, even 8th stage Supreme God beasts have appeared. Could it be that a pinnacle level 9 Supreme God realm demonic creature will appear next? If that's the case, we can only wait for our elders to come. They were discussing animatedly. At that moment, 2 divine dragons that were tens of thousands of feet long appeared in the distant sky and flew toward the valley at high speed. It's senior sister Xinglu and senior brother Xingming. It seems like the elders don't have time to come, so they sent senior brother over. It's good that they're here. The 8 dragon martialist disciples quickly recognized the 2 divine dragons that had rushed over. Both of them were the eldest disciples of their sacred land's elders. One of them was a beautiful and slender holy light dragon of their sacred land's eldest senior sister, Xinglu. The other was a majestic storm void dragon of their sacred land's eldest senior brother, Xingming. But very quickly, in their eyes, that wise and brilliant eldest senior brother seemed to have turned to another place midway. The one who appeared in front of them was senior sister Xinglu. Soon, the beautiful and slender holy light dragon of life arrived in front of everyone and returned to her human form. A beautiful woman in white appeared in front of them. Her eyes were like starlight, her skin was as white as snow, her perfect figure, and her elegant temperament attracted everyone's attention. Are you all right? The woman, Xinglu, asked everyone gently. Senior brother Kang Shinmu of the 5 Extremes Dark Ice Holy Land saved us. Moreover, he just killed 3 Supreme God Tier 8 demonic beasts. Hearing this, Xingli's pretty face revealed a look of surprise. She looked in the direction of the 3 demonic chi cracks and soon saw Kang Xinmu's divine dragon figure. She realized that he was only a 5th-tier Supreme God Realm Dragon Warrior. He can kill a level 8 Supreme God Beast? Xingli found it hard to believe. Senior sister, you've been in seclusion all this time. I'm afraid you don't know. One of the men said respectfully, this person is a super genius raised by the 5 extreme profound ice holy land a while back. In the competition held by the Dragon Soul Sacred Tower, he directly helped the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy lands rise in the rankings. He is Emperor Shi's Divine Dragon Senior's personal disciple. The direct disciple of Emperor Shi? When Xingli heard this, his eyes lit up. He's only at the 5th level of the Transcendent God Realm. His battle prowess had actually reached the 8th level of the Supreme God Realm? That's quite impressive. Shi and Xingming were both the best of the best in their holy lands. They had already reached the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme God Realm. Previously, the two of them had been in seclusion separately, wanting to rush to the supreme level. However, in the end, they were still unable to break through. In fact, they were still quite far from that level. Therefore, they came out to train. Being in seclusion all the time was not a solution. Based on the previous situation, even if they were to be in seclusion for another 10 or a few decades, they might not be able to comprehend and break through. Therefore, they had to come out to train. Coincidentally, the incident in the Dragon Martial Continent had given them the opportunity and environment to train. Although these demonic beasts were not strong, there were many of them. If they were to stay in battle, they would have a deeper understanding of their own cultivation. I didn't expect to meet such a genius this time. A smile appeared on Xingli's gentle face. She looked at the black dragon body that Kang Xinmu had transformed into in the distance, and a hint of interest appeared in her eyes. As for senior brother Xingming, he turned around and went somewhere else when he was about to arrive. In next to no time, his Tempest Void dragon body landed on a nearby mountain peak. On this mountain peak, there were Sui, Yu Tianchang, and the other 2 women. They had been observing Kang Xinmu from a distance. They had no intention of getting involved, nor did they intend to get in touch with the dragon martial artists of the Holy Land. However, they had not expected that the stormy void dragon would fly straight to them. May I ask who you are? Yu Tianchang's cultivation was the highest among the people present, so she took the role of the speaker. Seeing a powerful dragon martial artist coming over, she was naturally a little nervous and dignified. My name is Xingming. The voice of a rather aloof man was heard. Then, the stormy void dragon returned to its human form. Storms swirled all over its body, and it looked down at the women with a hint of admiration. You look a bit like Yi. Are you her descendant? The young-looking man glanced at Yu Tianchang and asked. Yu Tianchang was stunned. Yu Yaji was the dean of Donghuang Yanggu College. She was indeed Yu Yaji's descendant. Yes. Yu Tianchang answered respectfully. The man in front of her knew Yu Yaji, so he must be her senior, and his cultivation was quite terrifying. He was probably at the peak of Supreme God Realm. Stay away, all of you. Xingming said faintly, looking at the 3 devil chi cracks. Those 3 devil chi cracks are no joke. If you stay here, you will probably encounter danger. Well, I think it's okay. This place is far enough. Su Yi said casually, Brother Jiang is watching over there. We won't be in danger. Brother Jiang? When Xingming heard this, he glanced at Su Yi and sensed the aura on her body. He couldn't help but lightly snort. You're talking about Jiang Xinwu, right? I've heard his name many times since I came out of seclusion. I didn't expect him to be here. And you are the so-called little princess from the Demon God clan? Huh, that Kang Xinmu is a genius of our Dragon God clan, but he is colluding with the Demon God clan. What a joke. Xingming seemed to be a little unhappy with the demon god clan. Who knew what kind of hatred there was between them? It's up to you whether you want to leave or not, but I won't have time to care about you when we fight later. Xingming sneered, and his tone became unpleasant. Ha ha ha, who needs you to care about us? With Brother Jiang here, nothing will happen to us. Chapter 55-67. Hearing Su Yi's words, Xingming sneered. Naturally, he could not be bothered with Su Yi. In his opinion, it would be best if Su Yi died here. Of course, he did not dare to take the initiative to attack Su Yi. After all, his identity was there. If he really made a move against Su Yi, he would most likely die without a doubt. After all, the dragon gods and the demon gods were on friendly terms. The two sides had more cooperation, and their conflicts had always been more restrained. Therefore, Xingming did not stay there. Instead, he turned around and transformed into the body of the Tempest Void Dragon, heading toward the people of the Holy Land where Xinglu was. Xingming and Xinglu met. Aren't you going to ask me who I saw? Xingming looked at Xinglu with desire in his eyes. Unfortunately, Xinglu was quite cold to him. What does it have to do with me? Xinglu, I see that you are interested in that Kang Xinmu. Xingming's expression turned ugly. He had always been pursuing Xinglu. To him, Xinglu was a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, for some reason, Xinglu had always been indifferent to him. It was as if she had always treated him as a senior brother. In particular, Xingli's beautiful eyes were looking at Kang Xinmu in the distance, which made Xingming even more displeased. He can defeat a demon at the 8th level of the Supreme God Realm with his cultivation level of the 5th level. Naturally, I am interested in him. Xinglu pursed her lips and smiled, speaking matter-of-factly. In my opinion, he probably used some kind of sacred item. Xingming sneered. He is Emperor Shi's disciple. It is normal for him to have some sacred items. You haven't seen him attack. How can you be so sure? Xinglu smiled faintly. She had long been used to Xingming's character. Because of this, she did not like Xingming. This guy always felt that he was the best in the world and that no one was more talented than him. Therefore, when he saw other geniuses, he would suppress them to show off his own abilities. To Xinglu, Xingming's arrogant behavior was simply digging his own grave. She felt that Xingming had met a tough opponent at the banquet. But now, she did not think that Kang Xinmu would be a tough opponent. From her point of view, although Kang Xinmu was amazing, being able to defeat a level 8 Transcendent God Realm demonic being with a level 5 Transcendent God Realm cultivation. But he was definitely not a match for Xingming. After all, Xingming was already at the peak of the Transcendent God Realm. He had been at the 9th tier of the Transcendent God Realm for a long time. He had been in seclusion for a long time trying to break through to the Supreme Realm, but he had failed. She, Xinglu and Xingming, were the strongest existences the Martial Dragon continent could contain. If an existence stronger than the two of them were to appear in the Martial Dragon continent, it would very likely destroy the barrier and cause the continent to collapse. This made Xinglu feel that he had to get busy again today to protect Kang Xinmu. All along, she had always protected the geniuses of the younger generation who were targeted by the sage. To her, those geniuses of the younger generation were not that bad. In fact, some of them were even more talented than Xingming. However, due to being suppressed by Sage Ming, the cultivation process of many geniuses in the sacred grounds was not smooth. Xinglu saw all of this and was very clear that Xingming was behind all of this, but he couldn't find any evidence. Otherwise, the elders of the sacred grounds would never allow Xingming to do such a thing. At this moment, all the spectators suddenly exclaimed with shock. From the 3 devil chi rifts in the distance, waves of terrifying turbulent devil chi surged out with a loud bang. What appeared outside the demonic chi cracks were 3 extremely powerful and violent demonic creatures. Berserk demonic creatures at the 9th tier of the Transcendent God Realm. Each of them was a powerful demonic creature that had reached the peak of the Transcendent God Realm. Even Shenglu and Xingming had to treat their battle prowess extremely seriously. These are peak-level demonic creatures. The expressions of Shenglu and Xingming, as well as the 8 dragon martial artists of their sacred grounds, changed drastically. This is bad. This is a super powerful existence that even we and the elders can only deal with at the same time. Xing Li's expression changed slightly. Her pretty face turned a little pale, and she hurriedly wanted to transform into a dragon to help Kang Xinmu. In her opinion, Kang Xinmu was definitely no match for these 3 peak-level demonic creatures. However, just as she was about to move, Xingming snorted coldly and transformed into a storm spirit void dragon, blocking in front of her. 3 demonic chi cracks, 3 peak-level demonic creatures. Xingming sneered, "Are you so impulsive that you're going to die? Who knows if there will be more demonic creatures coming out of those demonic chi cracks? I've already informed Master and the elders. They'll come to support soon. Before Master and the elders arrive, I won't let you take risks in private." Xinglu felt a little incredulous when she heard Xingming's words. Although this senior brother of his had hindered the cultivation of other geniuses in the past, he had never been as unreasonable as he was now. Now, Kang Xinmu was in danger. One had to know that Kang Xinmu was a super genius of the Dragon God clan's great world and was very famous. If Kang Xinmu died here, it would be a great loss to the entire Dragon God clan. However, for Xingming, it seemed that whether Kang Xinmu died or not had nothing to do with him. In fact, there was even a hint of schadenfreude in his eyes. "Xingming, in such a situation, not only are you not going to help, but you're also going to stop me?" Xing Li's expression became very ugly. "I won't let you take risks." Xingming's reason was very good, and he said calmly. He sneered secretly. He wanted to see Kang Xinmu killed now. He wanted to see what Xing Li's expression would be when Kang Xinmu was killed. He really didn't expect that junior sister Xinglu, who had always been very harsh to him, would show such an interested expression to a junior Kang Xinmu that she had never seen before. "Xingming, do you know why I've never liked you?" Xinglu finally couldn't stand it anymore. She snorted coldly and said, "You're already very talented, but every time you stop other disciples from cultivating, it's simply unreasonable. Today, you're even jealous of Kang Xinmu. I don't know what he did to make you want to kill him." Hearing Xing Li's words, Xingming laughed loudly. In his opinion, he didn't need Xing Li's love at all. He firmly believed that he was the most talented person in the Dragon God clan, so for him, Xinglu was just one of the women he wanted. "Junior sister, why can't you understand that I'm doing this for your own good?" Chapter 55-68. Xinglu was exasperated, and her face was full of disappointment. She said, "I can't fight them alone, but if you work with me, we can still defeat those 3 demonic creatures." Xingming was unmoved when he heard this. He said indifferently, "I won't take risks for someone I don't know. Similarly, I don't want you to take risks for someone you don't know." Xinglu had no choice. She really couldn't beat Xingming now. If Xingming wanted to stop her, she definitely wouldn't be able to get through. So, she could only look anxiously in the direction of the 3 demonic chi cracks. The image of Jiang Xinwu's pitch-black divine dragon was reflected in her beautiful eyes. Very quickly, he was surrounded by the 3 demonic beasts. It was too late. Xinglu was in despair. She felt that she couldn't save Kang Xinmu even if she wanted to. Now, I can only hope that Kang Xinmu can have some world saint items to break out of the encirclement. She never thought that Kang Xinmu could kill those 3 supreme divine-level demonic creatures, because the difference in combat strength between the 2 sides was too great. As for world saint items, she suspected that if Kang Xinmu used them to deal with those 3 demonic creatures, would it exceed the limit of power that the Dragon Martial Continent could withstand? So she was very worried. In contrast to her worry, Xingming, who was next to her, sneered. He looked at Kang Xinmu and thought to himself, "I want to see how you die this time." He didn't expect Kang Xinmu to be killed just like that. After all, he was the personal disciple of Emperor Shi. He felt that Kang Shinmu must have a trump card. But that trump card must be a world saint item, with power comparable to a supreme level. But that level of power was definitely not something that Kang Shinmu could control. Once he used it, it might exceed the limit that the Dragon Martial Continent could withstand, so, in Xingming's opinion, Kang Shinmu would never use a world saint item. After all, the Dragon Martial Continent was Kang Shinmu's hometown. How could he take the risk of destroying his hometown? Soon. Everyone nervously looked at the 3 demonic chi cracks. Perhaps only Sui, Yu Tianchang, and the other 2 women who were a little further away were not worried about the current situation at all. On the contrary, the 4 women found it funny to see Xinglu, Xingming, and the others behaving like that. Brother Jiang has long been unafraid of this level of demonic creatures, yet they are still so worried. How ridiculous. Especially that Xingming. Does he really think that he's that amazing? That he's that strong? In front of Shenwu, I'm afraid this Xingming won't be a match for him. The 4 girls discussed among themselves, and Kang Shinmu's black dragon body was reflected in their eyes. For them, Kang Shinmu was the one they were most concerned about right now. And Kang Shinmu did not disappoint them. Just as the 3 peak stage supreme gods surrounded him, his devouring power erupted. 33 Heaven's Divine Feather, activate. At this moment, the 9-fold extreme destructive sky might dragon's soul burst forth, and 9 black dragon souls appeared in the surrounding sky. Accompanied by the dragon's roar, demonic chi surged in all directions. Almost at the same time, 3 devouring dragon souls' breaths landed on the 3 peak stage supreme gods. The 3 demonic creatures did not have any room to struggle at all. It only took an instant for them to turn into ashes. This scene stunned Xinglu, Xingming, and the others. Xingming had originally planned to see the scene of Kang Shinmu being suppressed by the demonic creatures, and it was very likely that he would be killed on the spot. But unexpectedly, the result was the complete opposite. What's going on? Xingming did not expect to see such a scene at all. Moreover, judging from the situation just now, Kang Shinmu did not use a heaven and earth holy item. This meant that Kang Shinmu had killed the 3 peak stage supreme gods purely with his own strength. Wasn't this too terrifying? One had to know that even Xingming himself could not be as straightforward as Kang Shinmu. In fact, if he were to be surrounded by 3 peak stage supreme gods, he would need to deal with them for a long time before he could kill them one by one. In the end, Kang Shinmu killed the 3 demonic creatures with just one move of the super divine dragon martial skill. How could Xingming not be shocked? As for Xinglu, a look of surprise appeared on her beautiful face. This was simply too surprising. He's too strong. She had originally thought that Kang Shinmu was weaker than her. After all, she was capable of defeating 3 supreme god tier 8 demonic beasts. But now it seemed like Kang Shinmu was completely stronger than her. After all, if it were her, she would definitely not be able to kill the 3 peak stage supreme gods like Kang Shinmu did. And Kang Shinmu's strength had left an extremely deep impression in her heart. He's only a peak stage supreme god. He actually has such combat prowess? Xing Li's beautiful eyes became more and more interested in Kang Shinmu. She felt that there must be a secret on Kang Shinmu's body. This kind of secret was indeed very attractive to her. When Xingming saw the look in Xing Li's eyes, he was even more furious. However, there was nothing he could do at the moment. It was already very overboard not to help Kang Shinmu. If it was even more overboard, it would be to besiege Kang Shinmu with the demonic creatures. Xingming would not do such a thing. If he did not help, even if someone found out, they would not be able to say anything. After all, he was also thinking about his own safety. However, if he participated in besieging Kang Shinmu, the nature would change. After that, the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land would not let him off at all. He, a peak stage supreme god, could not afford to offend the entire 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land. In fact, it was very likely that there would be experts from other holy lands who would befriend Kang Shinmu. That would be even more uncomfortable for him. Therefore, in short, he could not do anything to Kang Shinmu now. Moreover, Xingming was a little afraid now. He was afraid that if he really participated in besieging Kang Shinmu, would he be killed by Kang Shinmu like the three-peak stage supreme god demonic creatures? Now it seemed that it was very likely. Kang Shinmu's battle prowess far exceeded his expectations. Although Xingming also had a heaven and earth sacred grade, his heaven and earth sacred grade did not have many layers of seals unlocked. To him, unlocking the seals of a heaven and earth sacred grade required too many cultivation resources. Even if he tried very hard, he could not unlock too many layers. This was similar to Kang Shinmu. It was extremely difficult to unlock more layers of seals in Kang Shinmu's starry sky small world. Moreover, he could not hand it over to others. After all, this was his secret. Look at that man's defeated expression. It's so funny. In the distance, Sui looked at Xingming's shocked and defeated expression and could not help but laugh. To her, whoever dared to harm Kang Shinmu was a bad person. Chapter 55-69. After all, Xingming was already a peak supreme god existence. Although he was far away, he could still sense the situation of Sui and the other girls in the distance. At this moment, his face could not help but darken. He had actually been mocked by the little princess of the demon god clan. He did not have a good impression of the demon god clan to begin with, and now he hated them even more. But he did not dare to do anything now. After all, there were many people present. Otherwise, he would not have minded attacking Sui. As for the sacred land where Xinglu and Xingming were, the 8 transcending divine dragon martialists all sucked in a breath of cold air. They watched the scene of Kang Shinmu killing 3-peak supreme god demonic creatures by himself, and they could not believe it. They all looked a little incredulous. After all, Kang Shinmu was the same as some of them. He was only at the 5th tier of the supreme god realm, but he could actually defeat the peak supreme god demonic creatures. How could they not be shocked? This child is too terrifying. No wonder Emperor Shi took a fancy to him and accepted him as a personal disciple. Not only did Emperor Shi take a fancy to him, but even the demon god clan has great trust in him. That's right. The Su royal family even brought the little princess over. It's clear that they trust him very much. Everyone was talking about it. They had incomparable respect for Kang Shinmu. And all of this made Xingming feel even more uncomfortable. But there was nothing he could do. Originally, he had planned to leave them in the lurch, but now he realized that Kang Shinmu was stronger than him. Who could stand such a feeling? In that case, this child does not need our help. I'll tell Master Zhang and the others not to come. Xingming said with a cold laugh. Senior? Hearing this, Xinglu immediately frowned. Why are you doing this? Now that the 3 demonic vortexes are all gathered together, we need Master Zhang and the others to come together in order to get rid of them. Even if Master Zhang and the others come together, it will take a long time to get rid of the demonic vortexes. Why do you say that you don't need help? This time, she was really angry. Originally, Xingming did not intend to help Kang Shinmu for personal reasons. But now, Xingming actually told Zhang Laozuan and the others not to come over. Didn't that mean that they were going to give up on the 3 demon vortexes? If that was the case, the situation would become very bad, because if these 3 devil chi vortexes continued to exist, there would be powerful monsters emerging from them. At that time, there would be more and more demonic creatures. Even if they joined forces with the elders, it would be very difficult to fight them. After all, if there were too many demonic creatures, they would also be tired. There was a limit to their strength. How could it be that easy to stop the endless stream of demonic creatures? Dealing with the 3 demon vortexes was not a personal matter. It concerned the entire dragon martial continent, and even the entire dragon god clan. This caused Xinglu to have an extremely bad impression of his senior brother, Xingming. At first, she just didn't have a good impression of him. But now, he was a little disgusted. This person, because of his personal jealousy, didn't even care about the overall situation. This was too much. He was simply a despicable person. Even the 8 dragon warriors from their holy land felt that Xingming's decision was inconceivable. Each and every one of them had a strange expression on their faces. As for Xingming's current situation, they all guessed that this senior brother was extremely jealous of Kang Xinmu, which led to him not wanting to help Kang Xinmu. Even if it caused the 3 demon chi cracks to have a major impact on the entire dragon martial continent, it seemed to be completely insignificant to Xingming. This senior brother was really a little too disgusting. But now, they didn't dare to say anything. After all, Xingming was definitely the strongest among them. He could even challenge Xinglu and all 8 of them. After all, the 8 of them basically had no combat power, especially in front of Xingming. They wouldn't even be able to withstand one move. How could they dare to say anything? Moreover, Xinglu had the same opinion as them. Even Xingli's words were useless, let alone them. If they spoke up to dissuade Xingming, they would definitely be the unlucky ones. Xingming saw the look in everyone's eyes and immediately snorted coldly. He said faintly, "Do you think that the elders of our holy land have nothing else to do? There are still demon chi cracks in other places that need their help to clean up. So these 3 demon chi cracks, since that Kang Xinmu thinks he can deal with them, then let him handle them. If he can't handle them well, then it will be his responsibility. Of course, if he doesn't have the confidence, he will naturally inform the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land to come and help. Do you really think that I want to see him die because of jealousy?" When these words were said, everyone was a little depressed. It sounded like that was the case, but at this point, who didn't know what Xingming was thinking? We can only let the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land handle it. Xinglu sighed. She really didn't have much persuasion power to convince her master and the elders of the Holy Land. To the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, Xingming was the most talented disciple, and he would always enjoy the most privileges and cultivation resources in the Holy Land. Even she, Xinglu, although she didn't have as many resources as Xingming, her cultivation was still very close. But in the eyes of the elders, Xingli's status was far from Xingming's. Since Xingming told the elders not to come, then most likely the elders had already decided not to come. It was useless for her, Xinglu, to say anything more. It wasn't that she didn't want to try, but similar things had happened many times in the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, and she had no way to change anything. This was because she didn't have the inherited bloodline of the Storm Spirit Illusion Dragon, so in terms of status, she was much worse than Xingming. Of course, in reality, whether it was in terms of cultivation realm or cultivation talent, she wasn't worse than Xingming. It was just that the elders were biased towards Xingming. What could she do? Very quickly. They all looked nervously in the direction of the 3 demonic cracks, and then waited for Kang Xinmu to call the elders over. In their eyes, the only path that Kang Xinmu could take now was to call the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious ice holy land over. But, at this moment, they all discovered something to their shock. The jet-black divine dragon that Jiang Shenwu had transformed into flew rapidly towards one of the demonic aura cracks. Waves of jet-black energy enveloped the demonic aura crack from all over his body. It directly began to devour. Chapter 55-70. No one had expected Kang Xinmu to be able to deal with the demonic chi crack. What ability is this? Xingming's face trembled. He widened his eyes. He couldn't imagine how Kang Xinmu could make the demonic chi crack dissipate so quickly. He had seen the elders of his holy land working together to eliminate this kind of demonic chi crack. Without a doubt, the longer the demonic chi crack existed, the more difficult it would be to get rid of it. For example, even if many elders worked together, it would take at least a few days to get rid of one of the 3 demonic chi cracks. Because of this, the Dragon Martial Continent felt that they didn't have enough manpower. Because clearing a single demonic chi crack required many top-notch experts to deal with it. There were so many demonic chi cracks in the entire Dragon Martial Continent, and almost all the top-notch experts were held back by a certain demonic chi crack, unable to support other places. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many disciples of the Holy Land encountering danger in the Dragon Martial Continent. There really weren't enough top-notch experts. Therefore, Xingming and Xinglu were very clear about the difficulty of clearing the demonic chi crack. At their level, there needed to be at least 7 or 8 people together, and at least 3 pinnacle supreme god experts to protect them. Once a demonic creature emerged from the demonic chi crack, at least 3 top-notch experts would be needed to eliminate it. The others were focused on clearing the demonic chi crack. Even with such a lineup of more than 10 people, it would take at least a few days to successfully clear a demonic chi crack. And now, the scene in front of them had completely exceeded their expectations. They had never even dreamed that Jiang Xunwu, who was merely a 5th-tier transcendent god, would be able to do something that so many peak transcendent god elders could not do. In a short period of time, half of the demonic chi crack that Kang Xinmu had devoured had dissipated. Based on the current situation, Kang Xinmu would be able to completely clear the demonic chi crack in less than 2 hours. What kind of speed was this? A single person was able to accomplish something that more than a dozen elder-level powerhouses couldn't do. If an elder-level powerhouse wanted to clear a demonic chi rift in 2 hours, it would take at least hundreds of people. Because of this, Kang Xinmu's actions at this moment were so shocking. Apart from Xingming and Xinglu, the other 8 dragon martialists also had looks of disbelief on their faces. Who would have thought that Kang Xinmu would actually be able to do such a thing? He was actually able to devour the demonic chi and get rid of it? Wasn't this too terrifying? Their faces were filled with astonishment, and their hearts were filled with shock. Just as they were observing. In the other 2 devil chi cracks, 2 more peak supreme god-level monsters suddenly emerged. At the same time, there were many ordinary monsters surrounding them. A total of over 100 monsters actually surged out at this moment. At the same time, under everyone's gaze, Kang Xinmu did not panic at all. Extreme Destruction Heavenly Might Dragon Soul. First, he used the Super Divine Dragon Martial Technique, which was released under the effect of the 33 Heavenly Divine Feathers. 9 Heavenly Destructive Dragon Soul. This transcendent dragon martial skill directly swept up to the 2 peak-level transcendent gods, shattering their terrifying and surging devil chi bodies. Immediately after, there was another 1000 directional break, which came from the chaotic heaven devouring dragon sky devouring dragon martial technique. In an instant, 10 devouring vortexes formed in the field. With the support of Kang Xinmu's formless Qin Xing, the 10 devouring vortexes instantly swept all the surrounding monsters in. Just a moment later, the monsters that emerged from the 2 demonic chi cracks were actually killed by Kang Xinmu just like that. In the field, the demonic chi rippled and drifted towards the surroundings. Waves of devouring power condensed from Kang Xinmu's black dragon body and swept towards the demonic chi cracks. They could feel it. There seemed to be monsters trying to rush out of the demonic chi crack that Kang Xinmu was devouring. Unfortunately, the entire demonic chi crack was already riddled with holes under Kang Xinmu's devouring. The spatial power formation within it had completely lost its integrity. In the end, no monsters could rush out of the demonic chi crack. Only some scattered demonic chi was continuously released from the demonic chi crack, but it could not form any monsters, let alone pose any threat to Kang Xinmu. Devour. Kang Xinmu's devouring power directly enveloped the broken demonic chi crack. It was just as Xinglu and the others had expected. In less than an hour, the demonic chi crack was basically enveloped by Kang Xinmu's devouring power and then completely destroyed. The entire demonic chi crack was devoured by Kang Xinmu and turned into his own nutrients. Whether it was his understanding of the spatial attribute void force or the devouring power, they had further improved his strength. Of course, just devouring one demonic chi crack did not increase Kang Xinmu's strength by much. Immediately after, Kang Shinmu turned to face the other two demonic chi cracks that were emitting surging demonic chi. The devouring power swept out at the same time and surged towards the two demonic chi cracks. He actually wanted to devour these two demonic chi cracks at the same time. This shocking scene caused the expressions of Shenglu, Xingming, and the others in the distance to change drastically. They had not expected Kang Shinmu to do such a shocking thing. Clearing two demonic chi cracks at the same time. This was simply unheard of. Even the elders of the sacred grounds at the peak of the supreme god level would not dare to do such a thing. Even if they joined forces, it would be impossible. Needless to say, Kang Shinmu was alone. However, just now, Kang Shinmu alone had cleared one demonic chi crack in just an hour. From this, it could be seen that no matter how strong Kang Shinmu's combat strength was, at least in terms of clearing demonic chi cracks, Kang Shinmu's speed was much faster than anyone else's. Now, it seemed reasonable for him to want to clear two demonic chi cracks at the same time. However, such an action was really unimaginable. At least to Shenglu and Xingming, Kang Shinmu's actions had already shocked them greatly. It seems that no matter how highly I look at Kang Shinmu, he will always be stronger than I expected. Xing Li's beautiful eyes were already filled with shock. Chapter 55-71. Xingming was about to explode with anger. But he had no choice. He couldn't stop Kang Shinmu from cleaning up the demonic chi cracks, could he? If he did, he would become the sinner of the entire dragon gods. He couldn't be that stupid. He looked at Kang Shinmu's pitch-black divine dragon body, which was in the middle of the two demonic chi cracks. His entire body exuded an incomparably dense pitch-black talent power that enveloped the two demonic chi cracks. Xingming suddenly thought of something. Junior sister Xinglu, Kang Shinmu seems to have an unusual restraining effect on the demonic chi cracks. Xingming narrowed his eyes and said, I suspect that the appearance of the demonic chi cracks in the Dragon Martial Continent has a lot to do with him. Don't talk nonsense. Xing Li's face darkened, and she hurriedly stopped him. How can this be called nonsense? Xingming guessed with a smile, it's not like you don't know that it's not that easy for the elders of our holy land to clean up these demonic chi cracks. It might even take a few days to do so. And this Kang Shinmu is clearly only at the 5th level of the Supreme Divinity Realm, but he can clean up the demonic chi cracks so quickly. Don't you think it's strange? Shenglu shook her head when she heard this. She said coldly, the Dragon Martial Continent is Kang Shinmu's hometown. How could he deliberately cause these demonic chi cracks to harm the Dragon Martial Continent? Moreover, when this happened, Kang Shinmu wasn't in the Dragon Martial Continent. He wasn't even in the Dragon God's Great World, but in the Demon God's Great World. She had absolute trust in Kang Shinmu. Not to mention why Kang Shinmu would do this, just whether he had the ability to do so was enough to make people doubt. Ha ha ha. Xingming laughed and said, have you ever thought about why this Kang Shinmu is so talented? Why is he able to win repeatedly in battle, and even defeat stronger opponents? No one knows what his talent power is. We only know that it's related to devouring. And the talent power of devouring is rare in our Dragon God clan. Every time he attacks, every time he fights others, he displays a completely different kind of suppressive power. Clearly, there's a problem with his power. Xingming spoke with certainty, as if he had already confirmed that there was a problem with Kang Shinmu's strength. To him, he was unhappy with Kang Shinmu. He wanted to see Kang Shinmu fail and be punished. That was the only way he could get his hands on it. When Xinglu heard his words, the disappointment in her beautiful eyes deepened. She had never imagined that Xingming would say such a thing in order to ostracize Kang Shinmu. These words were completely slanderous. Because up until now, what Xingming had said had always been just a guess, without any evidence. If there was no evidence, what else could it be other than slander? I heard that Kang Shinmu had gone to various ancient relics to explore. Even Emperor Shi's heaven and earth holy item was brought out by Kang Shinmu. Xinglu said indifferently, it's not surprising that he obtained some great power in the ancient relics. Do you want him to completely display his power in front of you to let you know? Don't go too far. When he heard Xing Li's words, Xingming knew that his junior sister was determined to stand on Kang Xinmu's side. So he smiled faintly and said, it's okay. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. As long as the elders believe me, it's enough. After saying this, he turned and left the place. Obviously, he was going to find the elders of their holy land. When Xinglu saw this, she immediately gritted her teeth and transformed into a snow-white dragon of holy light, following Xingming. She would never let Xingming spout nonsense in front of the elders. At the very least, she had to stop Xingming from saying some unimaginable things to frame Kang Xinmu. Judging from the current situation, as long as he could deal with Kang Xinmu, Xingming would do anything. No matter what, he could do anything. So what if it was just framing Kang Xinmu? Kang Xinmu ignored the people around him. He did not know what Xinglu and Xingming were arguing about, nor did he know that their dispute was actually related to him. He was devouring the two devil chi rifts with all his might and turning the power in the devil chi rifts into his own purest power. He could store it to improve his cultivation. However, he was not in a hurry. Even if he devoured all three devil chi rifts, it would not be enough for him to break through to the next level. He was now at the 5th level of the Supreme God realm. It would not be easy to break through to the next level. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was not in a hurry. Anyway, judging from the current situation in the Dragon Martial Continent, there was nothing that he could not solve. Regardless of how many devil chi rifts there were in the 9th level of the Supreme God realm, they would not be able to escape the fate of being devoured. The current Kang Xinmu devoured everything wherever he went. Everything would become his power and fuse into his body. He realized that when he split the devouring power between the two devil chi rifts, the speed at which he devoured them was undoubtedly much slower. However, the overall time was faster. Moreover, when he devoured two devil chi rifts at the same time, no devil would emerge from the two devil chi rifts to avoid being disturbed. Once he was disturbed, the devouring power would be dispersed, and the speed at which he devoured the devil chi rifts would naturally decrease. In the current situation, the most important thing for Kang Xinmu was to devour the devil chi rifts. As long as he dealt with all the devil chi rifts, the crisis of the Dragon Martial Continent would naturally be resolved. At present, the speed at which Kang Xinmu devoured the devil chi rifts was still faster than the speed at which the devil chi rifts were born. After all, the speed at which he devoured the devil chi rifts was extremely fast. If the speed at which the devil chi rifts were born was faster than his devouring speed, then the others would not be able to hold on for so long before he returned. At this moment, Kang Xinmu was in the process of devouring the devil chi rifts. He found that one of Xinglu and Xingming, who had just left, had returned. It was Xingming. The holy light dragon of life had not returned, and he did not know where it had gone. Then, Xingming took away the 8 dragon martial artists from the Holy Land. After that, the scene was relatively quiet. Kang Xinmu devoured the devil chi rifts in peace and did not pay attention to anything else around him. Moreover, he did not think that anything would happen around him. At this moment, Sui, who had been observing the situation, suddenly felt that something was wrong. She could not help but say to Yu Tianchang and the other 2 women, "Sisters, I have a feeling that Xingming wants to play tricks in the dark." Furthermore, after Sister Xingla left with Xingming, she never appeared again. Could something have happened to her? Chapter 55-72. Sui, Yu Tianchang, Gu Yusheng, and Feng Ligay quietly flew in the direction where Xinglu had disappeared. They moved very carefully, completely attracting the attention of others, avoiding the route of Xingming's group. Not long after Xingming and Xinglu left, Xingming came back and brought the 8 of them away. Then, Sui and the others headed back to the place where they were just now. They left quietly. Let me try to track them. At this moment, Yu Tianchang had transformed into a heavenly robe phoenix feather dragon. A super divine dragon weapon appeared in front of her divine dragon body. It was actually a red rope. Under the pursuit of her super divine dragon technique, the red rope was tainted with the aura of the holy music. Xingli's holy light dragon of life, her aura was very obvious, so Yu Tianchang could easily track her. Very soon, Yu Tianchang found Xingli's current location. Come with me. Yu Tianchang transformed into a heavenly robed phoenix feather dragon and flew at the forefront, bringing the other 3 women with her. As for Su Yi, in order to conceal himself and avoid attracting attention, he did not transform into his 16-winged heavenly demon god body. Instead, he sat on the heavenly robed phoenix feather dragon's neck. Just like when he sat on the neck of Kang Shinmu's divine dragon. Following the guidance of Yu Tianchang's super divine dragon martial technique and dragon weapon, they soon arrived at a place where the devil qi was very dense. This was the depths of a valley. Yu Tianchang's heavenly phoenix feather dragon ability could track this place, and she could feel the aura of the holy light dragon around the valley. The sacred music is inside. Come, let's go in and take a look. The 4 women carefully observed the surroundings of the valley and did not discover any ambushes or restrictions. Then, they flew into the valley. Soon, they reached the depths of the valley. He saw the sacred music that was trapped by some kind of power. At this time, Xinglu was no longer in the form of a divine dragon, but a beautiful woman in white, trapped by the power of the storm void dragon. She had already fallen into a coma. Be careful. We can't enter the imprisonment domain of the Tempest Void Dragon. Damn it. That Xingming actually treated his own junior sister from the Holy Land like this? Simply unreasonable. What does he want to do? The women's faces changed drastically. They couldn't figure it out. Wasn't that Xingming too bold? He actually imprisoned Xinglu here. Furthermore, it could be seen that there were no signs of a battle in the surroundings. It was likely that Xingming had launched a sneak attack when Xinglu was not paying attention. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy for him to succeed. What a pity. In the end, Xingli's understanding of Xingming was not deep enough. She thought to herself, no matter how unbearable a sage was, he wouldn't attack his own people, right? But she didn't expect that Xingming would really attack her. Su Yi, Yu Tianchang, and the other 2 girls were surprised. At the same time, they felt that something was wrong. It was obvious that Xingming had planned all of this beforehand. He would first imprison Xinglu here so that she would not be able to escape. As for what Xingming wanted to do to Xinglu, no one knew. There's no other way. We have to go back and inform Kang Shinmu. Yu Tianchang said with an ugly face. She sized up the depths of the valley, the power of the storm surrounding Xingli's figure. She could clearly sense that this power was not something she could break through. I can save Xinglu, Su Yi suddenly said. Su Yi suddenly said, I have a sacred object that can block the power of these restrictions. Do you want to give it a try? That's not appropriate. Feng Ligay shook his head and said with a serious expression, even if you have a sacred treasure that can break through these restrictions, it's best not to act rashly. We still don't know what Xingming wants to do. If we touch these restrictions now, we will undoubtedly alert the enemy. So, it's better to tell this matter to Kang Shinmu first. Of course, we have to have someone stay here to guard in case Xingming suddenly comes back with bad intentions. When he said this, all the girls nodded. Su Yi also felt that it made sense. So she nodded and said, then I'll stay. If Xingming suddenly comes back, I can block him. There won't be any danger. Yu Tianchang and the other 2 girls were a little envious. But there was nothing they could do. Who asked Su Yi to be the princess of the Su royal family of the demon god clan? It was normal to have a sacred treasure. Otherwise, how could the experts of the Su royal family be at ease with Su Yi running around in the dragon god clan's world? No matter what, it was best for Su Yi to stay here. Apart from Su Yi, the other 3 girls couldn't stop Xingming. They might even be caught by him in one fell swoop. So, the four girls split into two groups. Su Yi stayed in the valley to guard Xinglu. Yu Tiansheng and the other two girls rushed back to the vicinity of the two demon aura cracks where Kang Xinmu was at the fastest speed to inform Kang Xinmu of this news. It was very possible that sage was clearly trying to stir up something big. And they still spent a lot of time going back and forth. About 2 hours later, Kang Xinmu had almost devoured the two demon aura cracks. Only a small part was left. At this time, Yu Tiansheng and the other two girls returned. And this time, they didn't stay too far away. Instead, they quickly flew towards where Kang Xinmu was. Kang Xinmu, it's bad. Xinglu was imprisoned by Xingming. We suspect that he's up to no good and is likely to harm you. Yu Tiansheng transmitted her voice to Kang Xinmu from afar. And this made Kang Xinmu frown slightly. Xinglu was actually imprisoned by Xingming? And the 8 dragon warrior disciples of their holy land were also taken away by Xingming. What was this guy trying to do? I'm afraid there's something wrong with this guy. Kang Xinmu's face darkened. Just now, he naturally felt Xingming's jealous gaze from afar. Obviously, Xinglu liked Xinglu very much, but Xinglu didn't like Xingming. It was because of Xingming's character. He would seek revenge for the smallest grievance and was petty. And Xinglu seemed to admire Kang Xinmu a lot. This made Xingming feel a little unbalanced. It was normal. But Kang Xinmu couldn't guess what Xingming wanted to do. The good news was that Su Yi and Yu Tiansheng had found Xinglu, who was imprisoned. No matter what had happened before, as long as Xinglu was fine, everything would come to light and the truth would come to light. Right at this moment. In the distant sky, many tens of thousands of feet-long divine dragons suddenly appeared. In the rain of ice, thunder, and lightning, they brought about tornadoes. Chapter 55-73. A group of dragon warriors at the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme God Realm were riding on the wind and clouds, bringing with them a spirit void storm as they rolled over from the horizon. One of them was Xingming, who had left for a long time. And the dragon warriors at the peak of the Supreme God Realm around Xingming were naturally the elders of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land. These elders brought Xingming and rushed over to Jiang Shenwu's side. Each and every one of them looked like fiends. It was obvious that they had some enmity with Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu ignored them for the time being. Instead, he used his devouring power to envelop the 2 cracks of demonic qi, swallowing all the demonic qi in the 2 cracks. In the end, when the elders brought Xingming to the front of Jiang Shenwu and the women, Xingming's expression changed. Kang Xinmu had just swallowed the 2 cracks of demonic qi. The surrounding demonic qi dissipated, but in the end, it was unable to condense into a shape. It turned into pieces of demonic qi and scattered in all directions. Everyone, what can I do for you? Kang Xinmu maintained his black divine dragon form and protected Yu Tiancheng and the other 2 girls behind him. Then, he turned around and faced the elders of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land who were at the peak of the Supreme God Realm. You are Kang Xinmu? The leader of the other party was a terrifying divine dragon surrounded by the power of the storm. His 2 long white beards swept up the storm and rippled in the air. A look of uncontrollable anger appeared in the eyes of the divine dragon. This anger was obviously directed at Kang Xinmu. That's me. Kang Xinmu nodded and looked at Xingming. Everyone, did this Xingming bring you here? I wonder what he said to you all. Haha. Kid, you're really not nervous at all. Don't tell me you don't put our Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land in your eyes? The divine dragon elder in the lead sneered. This dragon martial continent is the hometown of Kang Xinmu, right? Our Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land came to the dragon martial continent to help you. Who would have thought that an ingrate like you would actually kill a disciple of our Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land? It's simply inhumane and infuriating. As soon as he said that, the elders behind him who were at the peak of the supreme god realm roared and stared at Kang Shinmu with hatred in their eyes. When Kang Shinmu heard this, he couldn't help but sneer. So that was how it was. This was Sage Ming's plan. Who would have thought that Sage Ming was actually so vicious? Most likely, the 8 dragon warriors that were just taken away by Xing Ming had already been decapitated. They were killed by Xing Ming. However, after Xing Ming returned, he told the elders of his holy land that his junior brothers and sisters were all killed by Kang Shinmu. Among them, there was even holy music. Even Xinglu was killed by Kang Shinmu. This was probably what a sage would say. And that wasn't all of it. The most important thing was, Kang Shinmu, what else do you have to say now? The current state of the dragon martial continent was caused by you, right? The long-bearded divine dragon elder's expression was extremely serious and angry. Many holy lands have set you up as a genius of the younger generation, a role model. In the end, I didn't expect you to be such a person. What are your intentions in letting these demonic aura cracks spread all over the dragon martial continent? I'm afraid it won't be good for the entire dragon god race. This was what Xing Ming said. This guy first framed the current situation of the dragon martial continent because of Kang Shinmu, and then created the impression that Kang Shinmu had an evil plan. Then, he took Xinglu and the 8 people from the Holy Land away. As for where he took them, or if he killed them in private, no one knew. In short, he framed Kang Shinmu for this matter. And the reason why they came over so long after Kang Shinmu had already devoured the 2 demonic aura cracks. This was deliberately done by Xing Ming. He needed time to secretly arrange some things, and he also needed time to destroy the evidence. That was why he came so late. And it just so happened that when they came over, they happened to see Kang Shinmu cleaning up the 2 demonic aura cracks at the same time. To the elders of the Holy Land who were at the peak of the supreme god level, there was no doubt that this confirmed the fact that Jiang Shenwu was related to the demonic chi cracks. They knew very well how difficult it was to clean up these demonic aura cracks. How could this Kang Shinmu be able to clean up 2 demonic aura cracks at the same time, and in such a short period of time, a total of 3 demonic aura cracks? Previously, when the disciples of the Holy Land were surrounded by the demonic creatures, they had asked the elders for help. So they knew that there were 3 demonic aura cracks in this place. In the end, when they arrived, they found that one of the demonic aura cracks was gone, and the other 2 had just been cleaned up by Kang Shinmu. There was no doubt that there was something wrong with this Kang Shinmu. Therefore, they came to question Xing Ming. It was obvious that they didn't doubt what Xing Ming had said at all. I didn't expect that the personal disciple of Emperor Shi would be someone who colluded with the demonic creatures. Today, let us, the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, kill you, this demon. A seemingly irascible elder could not help but stare fiercely at Kang Shinmu. He looked like he wanted to attack directly, but he was still a little afraid. Although they had so many people, Kang Shinmu's current situation was a little strange. Such demonic aura cracks that were difficult to clean up were completely cleaned up by Kang Shinmu in 2 hours. This person must have some special ability. Moreover, in their eyes, it was very likely that this Kang Shinmu was able to create so many demonic aura cracks in the entire dragon martial continent. It was very likely that it was related to the forces behind these demonic creatures. Then it would not be so easy to get rid of Kang Shinmu. Therefore, they were a little afraid because of this. Unfortunately, Xing Ming was still a little bad at doing things. The place where he had imprisoned Sheng Lu had actually been discovered by Su Yi and Yu Tianchang. This also meant that everything that Xing Ming had said would be proven to be false. Kang Shinmu was not too nervous. He asked lightly, I remember that other than Xing Ming, there was another girl called Xing Lu. Where is she? You still have the face to ask this question? The long-bearded divine dragon elder's face immediately darkened. Didn't you kill her? Today, we are here to seek justice for her. At the mention of Xing Lu, the elders and dragon martial artists at the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme God realm were all filled with righteous indignation. Chapter 55-74. Kang Xinmu glanced at Xingming and smiled faintly. This guy probably didn't know that Su Yi and the others had already found Xing Li's location. If not for Su Yi and the others' help, Jiang Shenwu would probably have encountered some trouble now. As for now, there was no trouble at all. He looked at the grief-stricken long-bearded divine dragon elder and said, "I killed Xinglu. I'm afraid you're all mistaken, right? What if I said that Xinglu is still alive and well, and is even imprisoned by someone?" As soon as this was said, everyone's expression changed. What was going on? Xinglu was still alive? You mean you didn't kill Xinglu? The long-bearded divine dragon elder immediately became nervous. Xinglu was his disciple. Although he thought more highly of Xingming, he was also the one who had trained Xinglu. Of course, in his heart, it was very likely that 10 Xingles could not compare to 1 Xingming. But if Xinglu was not dead this time, he would naturally be happy. Why would I kill a girl for no reason? Kang Xinmu leisurely sized up Xingming in the crowd and found that there was a hint of panic in Xingming's feigned grief and indignation. Obviously, he also realized that there was something wrong with his actions. Originally, he should have killed Xinglu directly. But he had always liked Xinglu. If he killed Xinglu just like that, wouldn't it be too much of a loss? Therefore, he temporarily imprisoned Xinglu in a secret place and then used the spiritual void storm restriction to prevent Xinglu from leaving. Then, he thought that after he killed Kang Xinmu, he would come back to enjoy this woman. At that time, in the eyes of others, Xinglu would already be a dead man. Then, no matter how overboard he played, it would not matter. How great would it be to kill Xinglu after the matter was over? Unfortunately, he now realized that this was a serious mistake. Because he coveted this woman, a flaw appeared in his perfect plan. Of course, he did not dare to say anything now. But his mind quickly turned and he quickly thought of a way to explain this matter. Of course, there was nothing to say for now. After all, he wasn't sure if Kang Xinmu had really found the location of the sacred music. "Everyone, why don't you follow me? I'll take you to find Xinglu. She's perfectly fine now, but she's been locked up by someone." Kang Xinmu shook his head and directly flew towards Su Yi's current position. "As for who it is, I don't know. Anyway, it should be someone from your storm spirit illusion holy land. After all, the seal that is trapping the sacred music is the legacy power of the Tempest Spirit Void Divine Dragon. Thus, it definitely has nothing to do with me." As soon as he finished speaking, he flew straight towards a certain direction. As for the people from the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, their faces were naturally dark as they followed behind Kang Xinmu. No matter what, Kang Xinmu was the disciple of Emperor Shi. Moreover, Jiang Shenwu's current strength was strange and unfathomable. Without absolute confidence, they really did not dare to shed all pretense of cordiality. Moreover, according to Kang Xinmu, Xinglu seemed to still be alive. This seemed to mean that there was something hidden in this matter. "Everyone, wait behind us. My 2 junior brothers and I will go and investigate," the long-bearded divine dragon elder said solemnly. "If my junior brother and I meet with any accident, spread the news." "Yes. Yes." Many of the elders stopped at the back. This Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land's great elder was very thorough in his considerations. He even suspected that this might be a trap that Kang Xinmu wanted to lure them over and capture them all in one fell swoop. Very quickly, the long-bearded divine dragon elder brought his 2 junior brothers and followed Kang Xinmu and the 3 girls, flying towards the valley where Xinglu was imprisoned. Xinglu could only watch them leave from afar, his heart a little anxious. Very quickly, Kang Xinmu and the others came to the entrance of the valley. He instantly felt that Su Yi's aura was nearby. This was only because of him. If it was anyone else, they really wouldn't be able to feel Su Yi's presence. His perception and hiding ability really exceeded the average dragon martial artist by too much. Come out. It's been hard on you. Kang Shinmu let the little princess come out from her hiding place, and then continued to lead everyone into the valley. Very quickly, they came to the deepest part of the valley. What appeared in front of them was impressively a storm spirit illusion dragon's inherited talent power. It was a storm restriction. And in the center of the restriction, there was a beautiful girl dressed in white. It was Xinglu. Save her first. Seeing this, the long-bearded divine dragon elder made a prompt decision to act. The storm spirit illusion dragon's inherited talent power suddenly rose. This restriction was left behind by Xinglu. And the long-bearded divine dragon elder was Xingli's master. Although there was no difference in cultivation between the two, in terms of the use of power and the use of dragon martial techniques, Xinglu could not compare to his master at all. Hence, under the bombardment of the long-bearded divine dragon elder's power, the storm restriction was directly destroyed. A female elder came forward and carried Xinglu out of the restriction. Great elder, she's fine. She just fainted. The female elder said with a sigh of relief. Now, we just need to wait for her to wake up, then we'll know what exactly happened. Kang Shinmu said casually. That's right. The long-bearded divine dragon elder nodded, but his expression was still very bad. Because, if Xinglu was really fine, then didn't that mean that Xinglu was lying? And this time, if Xinglu was lying, then it would be a big matter. After all, 8 of their storm spirit illusion Holy Land's disciples were killed. Xinglu said that Kang Shinmu killed them. But if Xinglu was lying, just to frame Kang Shinmu, then it was simply unimaginable. It was very likely that Xinglu killed his 8 junior brothers and sisters behind his back. The long-bearded divine dragon elder was somewhat unwilling to believe that his most promising disciple would do such a crazy thing. To him, Xinglu was the disciple who could inherit his mantle the most, and there was a high chance that he would break through to become a supreme expert in the future. As for him, his potential was almost exhausted, and it was almost impossible for him to break through to the supreme level. But Xinglu was still young, and his future was bright. The possibility of breaking through to the supreme level was still very high. At this time, he did not even consider the existence of Xinglu. In fact, Xingli's cultivation time was shorter than Xingli's, and the total amount of cultivation resources she consumed was also much less than Xingli's. Whether it was her character or talent, Xinglu was slightly better than Xinglu, and could even be said to be much better. Unfortunately, the long-bearded divine dragon elder turned a blind eye to this. In his eyes, Xinglu was just a foil to Xinglu. Now, even if Xinglu was likely to be knocked out by Xinglu and imprisoned here, he still did not feel wronged for Xinglu. And looking at the long-bearded divine dragon elder's expression, Su Yi, Yu Tianchang, and the rest were a little disgusted. Did this great elder of the storm spirit illusion Holy Land look down on female disciples that much? He was actually so biased. Then, everyone left the valley together. Now, naturally, they had to find Xinglu and confront her face to face. Or wait for Xinglu to wake up, then they could ask her about the specific situation. No matter what, this matter had to be resolved. Now that Kang Shinmu's attitude was very good, the elders of the storm spirit illusion Holy Land had no reason to target Kang Shinmu before the truth came to light. They could only first investigate the matter. Very quickly, they met up with the many elders of the storm spirit illusion Holy Land who had stayed in the previous area. Seeing that they had brought Xinglu back, many people heaved a sigh of relief. Only Xinglu pretended to be relieved, but at the same time, he became extremely nervous. Chapter 55-75. Everyone waited for a while. The long-bearded divine dragon elder had been rather worried, but he was not worried about Xinglu, but Xingming. Even though Xinglu had yet to wake up and was still unconscious, the long-bearded divine dragon elder even hoped that Xinglu would not wake up. It's not a good idea to keep waiting like this. The long-bearded divine dragon elder suddenly said, in that case, let's split up first. There are still many demonic cracks in the dragon martial continent that need to be dealt with. Let's bring Xinglu back to recuperate first. Once the Dragon Martial Continent matter is over, we'll deal with this matter. How about it? When he said this, Xingming's eyes lit up. That's not bad. In that case, no matter how things turned out, it would be beneficial to him. At most, he would not pursue Kang Shinmu's responsibility. Because there was no evidence. And he would definitely be fine, because the elders would definitely protect him. If he went back to deal with it, Xinglu could start working on his side. At that time, as long as there was no problem with Xinglu, nothing would happen to Xingming. He could even insist that it was Kang Shinmu who killed the 8 disciples of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land. However, how could Kang Shinmu let them leave just like that? Running away after slandering them? Was there such a good thing? Kang Shinmu said lightly, "There's no rush. Although Xinglu has yet to wake up, it's not difficult to investigate the truth of this matter. I will let our Holy Land elders come and investigate." Your Holy Land's elders? What's the use of coming? Xingming did not know the pros and cons and immediately sneered. However, the long-bearded divine dragon elder's expression changed. Because he knew that the 5 Extremes mysterious Ice Holy Land had an elder who possessed the Mirror of Backtrack. That Mirror of Backtrack could use the aura of the scene to rewind what happened not long ago. It could be said to be especially useful at certain times. But now, to the long-bearded divine dragon elder, once the matter here was revealed by the Mirror of Backtrack, then the situation would be very bad. It could be said that the long-bearded divine dragon elder had basically confirmed in his heart that this matter should have nothing to do with Kang Shinmu. This made him a little sad, and could even be said to be very sad. But he would definitely not be willing to admit that there was a problem with his disciple in front of others. He would do his best to protect his disciple. Because he was a sage. If it was Xinglu, he would probably have personally dealt with him to get rid of him. There's no need to alarm the elders of your holy land about this. Thus, the long-bearded divine dragon elder said indifferently, "Right now, everyone is united as one to save the martial dragon continent. Kang Shinmu, although you have done such a thing, this old man will still consider the bigger picture. I will not make things difficult for you now. You can leave first and deal with the demon chi crack." These words, weren't they a little too righteous? Sui, who was at the side, almost couldn't help but curse out loud. That old fart. She muttered to herself. However, when Kang Shinmu was present, she would not suddenly jump out to scold him. In her opinion, this was not good for brother Kang Shinmu. Let Kang Shinmu solve everything by himself. As for Kang Shinmu, seeing that the other party was trying to delay for time, he casually said, "It's fine, it won't take up much time. On the contrary, if there is someone secretly causing trouble in the martial dragon continent, that is the most dangerous and irresponsible thing to the entire continent. So, this matter must be resolved first. Think about it, if I really killed the disciples of your Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, what if I go back and deal with Xinglu and Xingming? That's not good. So, it's best to investigate this matter clearly. If I killed your disciples, I am willing to be executed. But if not, then we naturally have to punish some of the black sheep, or at least chase them out of the martial dragon continent, don't you think so?" When Kang Shinmu said this, many people around him were speechless. Could such an analogy be used? The long-bearded divine dragon elder immediately retorted, "I dare not, I dare not. I believe in little brother Kang Shinmu's character. After all, this martial dragon continent is little brother Kang Shinmu's hometown. Little brother can't really bring disaster to the entire martial dragon continent, right?" After saying so much, he was just trying to delay for time. Because the Mirror of Recall had a time limit. If too much time passed, what happened in this area would not be able to be replayed. At that time, all the truth would be buried. As long as there was no problem on Xing Li's side, then this matter could be completely thrown onto Kang Shinmu's head, and Kang Shinmu had no way to wash away the suspicion. In the eyes of the people of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land, Once it was proven that Xingming had actually killed 8 disciples of their holy land, that would be a huge matter. It would cause the reputation and face of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land to plummet, and it would even cause the entire Holy Land to panic and become completely chaotic. So, they absolutely could not let anyone prove that it was Xingming who did this. And as for Kang Xinmu, they naturally had to criticize him severely. After throwing the blame onto Kang Xinmu's head, how to deal with it would be up to Emperor Shi and the Divine Dragon. They did not particularly care about the problem of Kang Xinmu's punishment. What a pity. Kang Xinmu had long seen through the other party's tricks. Delay for time first. Dream on. From the beginning, Kang Xinmu had already sent a message to the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious Ice Holy Land, explaining the matter here. He needed the elders to come over and use the Mirror of Recall to prove Kang Xinmu's innocence. When the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious Ice Holy Land heard this, how could this be? Their own genius disciple was actually framed for killing 8 disciples of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land? This was simply preposterous. The elders of the 5 extreme mysterious Ice Holy Land immediately put down what they were doing, temporarily handing over the matter of the crack in demonic chi to someone else. After all, they knew that Kang Xinmu's speed in dealing with the crack in demonic chi was very fast. But now that Kang Xinmu had been framed and could not do anything, the sooner they helped Kang Xinmu resolve this matter, the sooner Kang Xinmu could continue clearing the crack in demonic chi. Moreover, 6 of the elders of the 5 extreme mysterious Ice Holy Land had already gathered together and were rushing over. They were afraid that the other party would use force to suppress them, so the 6 elders had moved out together. Very quickly, the long-bearded divine dragon elder of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land was still wrangling, wanting to leave first and delay for time. But the 6 elders of the 5 extreme mysterious Ice Holy Land had already appeared on the horizon. 6 mighty divine dragons tens of thousands of feet long were rapidly flying towards this valley. When the elders of the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land saw this, their expressions changed. And Xingming still did not know the pros and cons. He sneered and said, "What's the use of calling people? Can calling people cover up the fact that you killed the disciples of our holy land? Shut up." The long-bearded divine dragon elder finally could not bear it and scolded him. If the Mirror of Recall made a move, the Storm Spirit Illusion Holy Land would very likely encounter a terrifying storm. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.